Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Singh. Joyce, we're ready to do our first Emmy winner predictions.
You sounded uncertain there for a second.
I was trying to figure out how I wanted to put it. I was going to say, do I say Emmy winner predictions or just Emmy predictions?
You know, maybe next time you should have a script.
I don't do scripts. I don't like
I
podcasts
know,
that
but
do
like that's
scripts.
that's the problem.
Yeah, but then
Get
like
away
it
with
sounds like you're
words.
reading. It sounds like you're reading.
We saw Deadpool last night,
Yeah,
and there was a line about not reading, and I thought of you.
I thought of that too.
Yeah, I
That
don't
was the
like this.
one thing that Deadpool has right.
You you not reading.
We'll talk about Deadpool later. We have an email about it, Joyce, already. So. And the
Oh,
embargo will
great.
have
I can't
broken by
wait.
the time this publishes, so we could speak about it.
Well, the social embargo was already
Yeah,
broken mid-movie last night.
yeah. A lot of tweets. We'll talk about this
A
later.
lot of them.
We're talking about the
Saying
Emmys.
nothing. Most of them saying nothing, really.
So many words. So many read more or whatever the fucking thing is on Twitter. You have to like click it to see more. I hate when I have
Well,
to do
because they're
that.
premium. Say less.
Deadpool would definitely have a premium. Deadpool would have a premium Twitter account.
Yes, because he's not succinct.
So we're gonna do our Emmy predictions, Joyce. If you're following along at home, we're gonna start at the bottom of our prediction center with competition program, and then just go back up to comedy. But these will be quick, I think. We've talked a lot about
Well, today we're just doing the main ceremony,
yes,
not
yes.
creative arts,
Next week
because
we're gonna
otherwise it'll
do
be 6 hours long, this episode.
next week we're doing the Creative Arts Emmys, and we're actually pre-recording that this week. So if you want to email us,
So you're gonna make outdated references.
no, it's not gonna be like a Deadpool movie. I'm not gonna make outdated references. I'm just saying if you're gonna email us for next week, you should email us now. Maybe double up on the emails. This is to Michael, certainly.
For a new game about the creative arts.
He didn't write any games this week, but he did email again. A lot of our regulars are back.
It's great. Well, I mean, last week, it was live
Yeah,
after Nom,
yeah,
so
yeah,
people are busy. They have
yeah.
lives,
I don't blame
like
him.
Emmy voters.
I don't blame him. Joyce competition program. To recap, the nominees are RuPaul's Drag Race, The Traitors, Top Chef, The Amazing Race, and The Voice. And I'm gonna have RuPaul's Drag Race winning.
I have it too. I'm debating whether or not traders can do it.
This will be one of the ones I think we talk about in the limited capacity we talk about these categories. Will it be Traitors or RuPaul's Drag Race? Traitors is great and people really like it. It could
I'm not a
win.
traders viewer.
Okay.
So, but yes, people obviously love the show. Although I have heard from people I know who are avid watchers that this past season was not as great as the first one, and
Heard that
last year
too.
wasn't nominated in this category, but it did win casting. And
Yes.
this year is not eligible for casting because they didn't go through a traditional casting process. It was basically just like texting alums from these other shows to come
Right.
on. So um I I feel not to spoil our creative arts predictions, but I feel like RuPaul can still win host
Me too.
over Allen, and I feel like if traders were gonna beat it in one of those two categories, it would be here because we've already seen Lizzo beat Drag Race.
Yes. I think Lizzo winning here over Drag Race previously gives credence to the fact that Traitors could win. But I also think that Drag Race is like last week tonight, and that it's still good. You know what I mean? It's like it's not like it's bad or gotten worse. So like, why would it
They're
lose?
also just lazy. So
Right. It's just like this is a great show that people love in this space. So like, I think it's just gonna win. I didn't put that much thought into it. I was like toying with Traitors. Obviously, I have it second. So does everybody else. It seems. But there you go. Uh, Variety Talk series choice. These are the nominees: The Daily Show, Late Show with Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Late Night with Seth Meyers. And I have The Daily Show winning here.
again,
Jon Stewart, baby, back. They love The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. They love The Daily Show, period.
yeah, like Trevor winning last year without last week tonight here.
Mm-hmm.
When most of us thought like, oh, maybe this is
The Colbert
Steven.
time.
Yeah. And no, like they just like the Daily, no matter who's there. And now John is back.
I feel like
So
this is gonna like a no doubter to me that it's the Daily Show. I didn't really give
I
it
mean,
much
it's an
thought.
election year as well. So yeah, I don't know. I like, who do you have in second, I guess?
I have Jimmy Kimmel Live in second. This might be just anti-Colbert or anti-dicting. I just don't think the Colbert Show was as good or as culturally relevant this year as these other shows. So I have Colbert in last, even though I like all these shows. Like I'm not dissing. I guess I'm dissing Colbert, but I'm like I like Colbert, but I think in terms of like the ether, Kimmel and Seth Meyers had better seasons, so I put them ahead of Colbert.
I mean, I obviously have Seth in second.
Sure.
I gotta stand.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't think
um
that's crazy because like it was a great season of Seth Meyers or like and
Seth
then
is
like
always great.
yeah
And he has corrections and
yeah
everything. So I am like upset because I did have like these four as
mm,
my nominees for
you
the
did
longest time. And then like, uh for our final predictions, I removed two of them. But before nominations, I did drop hot ones because I was like,
ah,
this branch is like way too insular, like these people. And I don't think they would take hot ones seriously because it's not a traditional talk show, and Sean Evans is also not doing as much as these guys day in, day out. Like he's literally just asking questions.
yeah it's
And
an
I almost dropped
interloper.
Mulaney too. Um, and I even though like he still did a talk show, but I like him not getting in. I'm like, he just did that for 1 week,
I
you know?
I feel like if Mulaney was eligible in the other category, maybe he could have gotten in, right? Like
Yeah. Because I
sketch.
feel like this is just like, again, like I think they're lazy too here, but I think these people are already entrenched and they are like the real talk show hosts,
Yeah, absolutely. But I think Daily Show's gonna win no matter what.
Mhm.
So, for variety series writing, well, the nominees here are Last Week Tonight, The Daily Show, and Saturday Night Live, and I do have Last Week Tonight.
Same.
Not much to say.
No.
Feels like, of course. I have Daily Show in second. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah. Yes.
And then for directing, nominees are Saturday Night Live, The Daily Show, Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and Jimmy Kimmel Live. And here I have Saturday Night Live.
Same.
What if The Daily Show wins directing?
Um, I don't think so.
Could it be that they love The Daily Show so much and that it's an election year, like you said, and it's very prominently focused that they're going to be like The Daily Show all the way? I don't think so either, but I'm just like throwing out a devil's advocate position here.
No, because that's usually like I think it would win writing first
Sure. Makes sense.
before
Directing.
that. I mean, like
Yeah.
we had a big upset here 2 years ago, right? With Black Lady Sketch Show.
Yeah.
Um,
It,
but
it, it feels like
I think
sketches would be,
that's more inventive
yeah,
than a talk show.
I think so too. That's why SNL has the edge.
Mhm.
All right, so now we're gonna go up to the main like program categories here. Comedy series first choice. To recap, the nominees were The Bear, Hacks, Only Murders, Abbott, Curb, What We Do in the Shadows, Reservation Dogs, and Palm Royale. And I have The Bear winning.
What is your ranking?
The Bear, Hacks, Only Murders, Abbott, Reservation Dogs, What We Do in the Shadows, Curb, and Palm Royale.
Interesting. I have The Bear, Hacks, Murders, Abbott, Curb, Shadows, Res Dogs, and Palm Royale.
Hmm. I'm higher on Res Dogs.
And you were the one who dropped it for Girls Five Eva too.
I've been watching it, Joyce. This is a great thing. And I was like, this show's,
Wow. Discovered new show, your new fave.
it's not a new fave, but I think it's really quite good. Uh,
Well, yes, it's always been good. It was just underwatched and
and
underreported.
and I'm like, I think based on its nominations, I feel like there would be more enthusiasm for it. The bottom of this doesn't matter though, because but I just happen to fifth. I don't have Hacks winning here, and I don't know what it would take for me to change my mind over the next 3 months.
I think it would take a big creative arts performance, like it winning casting over The Bear. I think that would be telling, because
Yeah,
casting that's comprised of casting directors producers and directors.
Hmm.
So, but that doesn't always like paint the full picture, because like, like Abbott won casting
Yes.
for very obvious reasons, and that didn't win series 2 years ago. Um, so I feel like it would need to win some key stuff at creative arts, uh and I think we need to see more we need to see the bear lose more momentum over the next couple weeks. I do feel like with the less than stellar reception to season 3, like that, like the buzz has kind of diminished. It's not the same as at this point last year with season 2, when people were still like tweeting clips from
Right.
fishes and forks. So like the conversation has kind of died down a little bit. So I think it needs to kind of be like that, and then like the momentum for hacks also to pick up a little bit. I feel like it got a little bit of that like after noms last week, with people like talking up Hannah again, right.
Hmm.
So but I feel like the bear is still the bigger show ultimately, so it'll probably win this in the end.
I think the creative arts piece is interesting, and obviously, I think you're right. If like the bear flops in creative arts, well, I wouldn't like overreact to that. If it loses, like you said,
Like
casting,
what if
and
like Caitlyn beats Jamie
if it
Lee
loses
Curtis?
Caitlyn, and if Jamie Lee Curtis loses and like it loses
What if Maya
casting,
Rudolph wins now?
I mean, like if that happens, like yeah, maybe this is a bad sign for the bear. I actually think so I like the bear season 3 as we've talked about. I think the response to it actually has been not as it's. I think the negativity around it is overblown because I actually don't think people think it's that bad, just generally. And the fact that
No,
it's
I
all
don't
the
think it like people
conversation,
think it's a dumpster fire.
no. And I
It's
think that
not the
it's
same as last year.
right. And I think the ad of the conversation is actually not a problem at all because then people are just talking. They're still talking about the episodes they like Forks and like. I just think it's like it's fine. I see people like still trying to be like that the Bear season 3 was bad. Matt Bellany has turned that Joyce into his new Emma Stone is a scab. It seems like because he's mentioned it like in multiple newsletters, but I don't believe that's going to take. I think it's going to be fine, and I think Hacks is the clear number 2 though, which
I mean, it's always
helps,
been the number two.
and it helps as a potential upset like that there is a consensus number 2. I do think Hacks will do very well, as we'll talk about here. And I think it'll win other places that maybe we would have had the Bear potentially winning before the nominations.
Yeah, like I obviously like no one thinks the Bear season 3 is the worst season of television in the entire world. Like it's still, you know, a very fine season. It's just not exemplary.
It's the
And
Furiosa to Fury Road.
and yeah, like it's just not as good as the last season, the season
Correct.
for which it's nominated.
Right.
And like I do think it's fair to like if like last year we were all acting like season 2 is great, is going to boost season 1 to wins. Like I think it's fair to be like the reception to season 3 hasn't been as great. It could negatively affect its chances for season 2. It probably won't ultimately because there are people who still like it. It's just more mixed. But I do think like momentum matters, and it is kind of like losing steam, and just in terms of like I think word of mouth is important too. Like when I was in LA 2 weeks ago, like I talked to several people, um, two of whom are industry people who were just like not in they like they had started season 3 and they were just like not really into it, and they didn't know if they
Hmm.
were going to finish it. So I think like that's kind of like a vibe. Like they didn't outright hate it, but it was just like struggling to finish. I'm like, I'm not, it's kind of, slow for me. It's not my fave. I don't know if I'll finish it. And it's like, they've heard about like this episode and that episode, like napkins and like ice chips and
Right.
stuff.
Sure.
And then someone else I talked to hadn't even started yet and they didn't know if they should because of the reception. I'm like, I think, if like you like the show before this, like I think you should still watch it and give it a chance and form your own opinion about it, you know.
Yeah. I guess I would say the other thing I don't agree with is I don't think there's a momentum for Hacks though. As a show I love, I don't think that's there either right now, at
No, but
least.
like it ended it's different because season 3 is the consensus about season 3 is that it's its best season,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it ended on a high note, and most people loved the season and loved the finale. So there's not a current conversation about it right now because it ended at the end of May,
Right.
So but I think like that is like the conversation about it is not apparent, but I don't think that means there's no momentum for it just because it's not active right now.
Okay.
Because I think it's like we like the show. The show was great this season. I
Yeah.
mean, you could say the same about like Murders, right? It was like this show rebounded this year, and it seemed like it was losing steam as well because it went down in nominations last year and it overperformed this year.
And
Like I don't think it's gonna win
let me ask you this.
anything.
Let me ask you this. If the fourth season of the way it performed for season 3, which is a comeback season, obviously for the Emmys, like we said, if the fourth season was airing earlier and during voting, would it help the third season win something? Assuming the fourth season is good, because
I think
I think it
I
premieres.
think it can win below the line stuff, but like above the line, I can't see it winning anything. Like it missed writing and directing this year. I think it probably was just the next in line.
Hmm.
Like it's been nominated in those categories before. I do kind of feel weird in that sense to have it in third because it's missing those two categories, whereas Abbott got into those two categories this year. But I think the fact that it's been nominated in those categories before, and I think it probably just missed and it really overperformed this year. I think that gives it the edge
Yeah.
over Abbott for third place in my mind.
Yeah.
So, but I can't really see it winning above the line.
But you don't think the fourth season, if it aired during voting, would have an impact at all?
No.
Okay.
I mean like for what category?
I don't know. Maybe like a guest. There's not a lot of categories it could really win, I
I
guess,
don't think it will win
conceivably.
either guess. I think it could win like production design again,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I think it's competitive below the line like it's always been, but
Yeah.
above the line is hard because it's missing writing and directing, and
Yep.
then the acting categories are stacked
Yeah.
against them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, for comedy actress choice, the nominees were Jean Smart, Io Devery, Quinta Brunson, Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, and Selena Gomez. And I have Jean Smart winning for Hacks.
same.
Who do you have in second?
Io.
Same. Thought about Quinta though for a second, to be honest,
Why?
because she won last year, and she's still Io is still even for season 2 a tweener to me. Obviously, they love the bear, but I could see Quinta. Neither one of them are going to win, but I do think that you could make an argument Quinta could be runner up.
No, because I think like no shade to her, but we discussed this heavily last year about like how that was Quinta's window to win
Yeah.
without Jean in the mix,
Hmm.
and she did it. Um, and I think Jean and Io are just on stronger shows, essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, um, I don't I think they're the top three, but I don't think it matters.
Hmm.
That Quinta won last year. Because it's like, do you think she would have won had Io been in lead last year?
No. So there you go.
So
Then I have Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, and Selena Gomez. I have basically the top 6. That's the top. That's how they're ranked in the odds. So I have the same ranking as the odds.
I have Maya in fourth,
Nice.
Kristen, and it's Selena.
Yeah. I've been giving too much thought to the bottom of this, to be
No,
perfectly honest.
I basically just like think about the top three and then just kind of slide over the rest.
Uh, Jean feels really, really certain to me that she'll win.
I've always had her. So
It doesn't feel like it's really in doubt. I think Io, if the third season for the Bear had a big standout moment for her, I guess it does arguably in the finale, but I just don't think Sydney's not really the main focus of the third season.
yeah, like we've discussed, she feels more supporting in season three.
And I know this is for season 2, but I guess my thing on this with the second seasons, I think if it's good, it really does help. And I think if it's mixed like the Bear or bad, it doesn't actually matter that much. I just think it's not a demerit, but I do think it's a positive that would help people. Like I don't think if even if it was really bad, like you're not, I know you don't think the Bear season 3 was bad, but if it was like Ted Lasso season 3, like bad, I don't think it would really impact this race as much as maybe we think.
No, but I think it's like it is something they have in mind. Like I don't even know like how many people do you think are aware that they're voting for season two and not season. I mean, I guess now it I guess last year would be a better example since season three did not drop before noms closed this year.
Yeah.
But like last year, it was like, they had two seasons
I think
and
last
season
year they're
two
voting for two
overlapped.
seasons. Yeah, I think last year they're voting for 2 seasons.
Um, but now for like the winners phase, like they do have the third season. So I think maybe if you're kind of neutral on all these shows and performances, and then you watch season three of The Bear and you're not high on it, maybe that does affect you, you know? It's like
Yeah,
I
I don't
don't
know.
it's like they don't like people don't vote or live in a vacuum. So I think it's hard to if they've seen the season, I think it's hard to ignore that. I'm sure some people would just, if they have not seen the season, they might just go off of like word of mouth. It's like I don't want to be part of like voting for something um even though like season three is not eligible, but like it's not as good as like this last season, even though this is what I'm voting on.
Yeah. Um, for comedy actor Joyce, this one I have Jeremy Allen White. Spoiler alert, I'm sure you do too. But the nominees are Jeremy Allen White, Martin Short, Dafara Unatai, Larry David, Steve Martin, and Matt Berry.
Yeah,
I have Martin in second,
same.
and I have Dafara Unatai in third.
Wow. I have Larry in third.
Hmm, sure. Jeremy Allen White, congratulations on your Emmy. Does this feel as locked as Gene?
Yeah, yes, but I think Gene can win for every season of Hacks, whereas I don't think Jeremy would win. I feel like this might be the last one for him, or like he would lose next year.
But we don't know who would you have we seen who he would lose to?
Well, the Martins would be back, assuming they nominate them both, you know.
And you think one of them
So,
could win for the fourth season, depending on how good it is,
I mean, that's the competition there, like,
or a new
that.
show we don't know
And
about.
then like, Shadows, like Matt Berry broke through finally. So, yeah, and there could be a new show. So, I think like he's been on such a win streak, like throughout the winter too, like starting with season one, because he was winning way before the other cast members were. So it's like he's gonna lose something at one point. And then I think that could also open the floodgates for other award shows to copy, basically, because like Jean has lost other awards, like not
Yes.
Emmys, but she has lost other awards
My
already.
guess is Critics' Choice Awards winter, he'll lose.
You think he'll still win the Globe,
Yes.
like a three-peat at the Globes?
Yes. And I think he'll lose Critics' Choice Awards.
But if he wins the Globes, like when Critics' Choice just copy them,
No, because the critics don't like Bear season
but they're
3.
not like all critics.
No, but like that's the narrative that they're gonna want to
I don't
protect.
think he would win the Globe. I think he will lose both.
Okay. Comedy supporting actress Hannah Einbinder, Meryl Streep, Liza Colin-Zayas, Shirley Lee Ralph, Carol Burnett, and Janelle James. And I have Hannah Einbinder winning choice still.
Wow, you haven't been scared enough to put Liza in first yet?
I have Liza in second. The odds have Meryl in second. I have Meryl in fifth. I'm just anti-dicting Meryl all the way down.
I'm surprised you don't have her in sixth.
I have Janelle in sixth.
Me too.
She's sixth in the odds too. I put Carol Burnett in fourth only because she's Carol Burnett. I feel like she has more name value for the Emmys than Meryl. No disrespect to Meryl.
I mean, Meryl has three Emmys, so um, yeah, like Hannah should win this.
I think this is much closer than you do, and I think it's much closer than the other two categories. I still think Hannah
Well,
will win.
I think I agree about that. I think like Jean and Jeremy are way out in front, but I'm not as worried about her as you are.
I'm worried about her, but I don't think it's. I'm worried about her, but I don't think it's that. I think she'll win, but I do think that the the world has conspired to make Liza Gonzalez a very strong contender here. And if she did win, I guess I would like if Iowa Debris beat Jean Smart, I would be surprised. And if anybody beat Jeremy Allen White, I'd be like, wow, that is a shock. And if Liza Gonzalez beat Hannah Einbeiner, I'd be like, yeah, okay. I thought that might happen.
I mean, I would agree about that. I don't think, I mean, even before either of their season threes came out, I think you would say that anyway, even though I think the general public would think like Meryl is the closest or like the, the favorite here.
Yes.
But I think you would just make that assumption based on the Bears' strength from last season, right? And the assumption that Liza would get in and have material for season three, which it turned out she did. But then
Yes.
Hannah also had material for her third season. So, but I think this race kind of just goes back to what I was saying before in general about like the momentum. Like I think Hannah has the momentum more so than Liza does, even though Liza has her showcase episode in season three. But like I've said before, I don't think like napkins is the same as forks, and then the reception to them is not the same either. Whereas the reception to Hannah and Bulletproof is more similar to the reception to forks than to napkins.
I think all that's true, but I think having no competition here from the Bear helps Liza. And obviously, they do, if they just love the Bear, which we know they seemingly do, she could easily win. That said, Hannah is the best part of the best season of Hacks, and we know they watch the show and like it. So
Yeah.
like she
Well,
should
here's
win
here's
on
the
merit.
like I mentioned this in our column last week. Like I think the nominations this year show that the restricted ballot works. Like last year when they brought it back, we were hopeful that it would work, but Succession and White Lotus spammed the nominations yet again, and we thought that that meant it didn't work. I think that we were just led astray. Like not like I think it was fair to assume that like it didn't work last year, but I think like I said last week, it was just because Succession and the White Lotus are ensemble driven shows, which shows like The Bear, Hacks, and Shogun are not the like they have their core characters and then
Hmm.
like supporting characters that are more secondary than something like Succession and White Lotus. And so I think this year when we were making our early predictions for nominations, we loaded up on bear actors, right? Like I've said multiple times that I just put in four bears and supporting actor, right? Because we know they love the bear. It won 10 Emmys last year, and we saw what happened with Succession and White Lotus.
Hmm.
And so like I think it was fair to assume they would treat the bear the same way based on the intel we have from last year. And the fact that it didn't just shows that, like the bear is not those two shows. Like it's like they love Succession and White Lotus actors I'm talking about. And then the bear is like slightly below. Like they still love it, but I think like because of the restricted ballot, it shows like we know they pay attention to shows they like the bear and hacks. So they were more disciplined in picking those people on the restricted ballot.
Hmm.
So it's like they didn't pick Abby Elliott, even though she had way more screen time in season two than Liza, right?
And they didn't pick
But
like I mean like to that they didn't pick
they didn't pick Molly, right?
Molly,
So
or they didn't pick even like Meg Stalter, right? They just were like
yeah,
Hannah is it.
I
Like
mean, like Hacks was never expected to be like Succession and White Lotus anyway, like the bear was expected to be like that.
yeah, yeah.
So like and so I think it shows like this year with these shows, the restricted ballot did work in stopping certain shows or strong shows from spamming.
Yeah.
But I think it was just confirmation that like the Succession, or it told us Succession and White Lotus were just anomalies because they were ensemble shows. And
Right.
like the shows
Or
this year are not really like that.
not necessarily anomaly, but that ensemble shows have an edge to spam the ballot, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think Succession was just too strong anyway, because it was also the last season.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess we'll give a like next year. It'll be interesting to see
yeah, because White Lotus is back.
White Lotus is back with a huge ensemble.
Yeah,
Will the Academy like will voters like really embrace that ensemble like they have the past White Lotuses?
yeah, yeah, and like it's because like the Bear has never competed on the unlimited ballot either, right? Succession and White Lotus both have, and White Lotus the first season obviously wasn't limited, but it was like the same situation.
Mhm.
So it showed us like Succession was unaffected on either ballot, like it performed
Yeah,
the same.
right.
I do think if the Bear have has ever been on an unlimited ballot, it probably would spam, right? Like,
It seems likely if it was an
or
unlimited
like it'll
ballot.
get like maybe a couple more acting
I think
nominations.
Abby would have gotten in for sure, but
And yeah, so I think it shows like they're paying attention, and we know they like Hacks and the Bear, and I think knowing that, um I think it's like Hannah just has the edge there, like based on the response to her performance and the buzz
and the
in the
material.
season. Yeah.
I mean, Liza does not have the material from season two. She does have material for season three, and I think
Yeah.
depending on how Hack season four goes in the spring next year versus like the Bear season three, you could make a strong case that maybe Liza wins for season three. I could see that. I'd have her high up in my predictions.
Yeah. I
But
mean, like Hannah could just have even better material in season
true.
four based
Yeah.
on
Yeah. You
the
don't
end of this.
know.
So
Or do they
it
upgrade her to lead for season four because she ends up being the lead driver of the show? Who knows?
so it's like she like the first time she and Liza will compete for both of their season threes will be in the winter.
I'll be
But
curious to
I think I
see.
can see Hannah just winning those.
I could see that, but I could also see Liza winning the Critics' Choice Awards.
I don't think they would do that. Like I think like because Hannah is like her profile is like very online, and that's like the type of people
Mm,
voting in that body, you
it's
know?
true, but they also love Liza. I could see them loving her.
I don't think it's not the same. It's like it like they like her, but like they if forced to choose between the two of them, Hannah would have the edge.
Supporting actor seems much less fraught, I would say, or maybe none of these are fraught. But it's Evan Moss Backrack, Paul Downs, Lionel Boyce, Tyler James Williams, Paul Rudd, Bowen Yang, and I have Evan Moss Backrack winning for the Bear.
Yeah.
I have Paul W. Downs in second, but I don't believe unless
He
Hacks is
could be
gonna.
winning,
Yeah, if
but
it's also like Evan for season two is great and should win. As much as I love Paul,
he's
like,
gonna win 2 Emmys for Forks.
and he deserves it.
It's like how Brett won 2 Emmys for Rainbow.
Yeah. Uh,
But
how do you have
yeah,
this? What do you have this ranked as?
I have Evan, PWD, Lionel, Rudd, TJ Dubs, and Bowen.
I have Evan, PWD, Lionel, Bowen, Tyler, and Paul.
Um, I feel bad for Tyler because I feel like he and Janelle have missed their windows to win, unlike Quinta.
Yeah,
Like both of
Janelle.
them have been caught up. I mean, him especially, like he just got lost in between Ted and the Bear people, whereas Janelle, obviously the first season she lost to Cheryl, and now there are two shows that are stronger than hers, and the Bear and
I,
Abbott.
and like we said, maybe next year, does she lose her spot next year? Maybe.
I don't know. Like I Abbott, you know, it retained all their main acting nominations this year. It just lost the guest one, but like it didn't really have a viable guest contender anyway.
Yeah.
So um and it got more nominations than it ever did this year. It got 9, but it's
And
still
it was
not
a
like exploding,
no and a great season. Like we said,
Yeah.
all these shows had really good seasons.
But yeah, so I feel bad for Tyler because I would have given to him 2 years ago. Like
Him
over
and Janelle could have won for the first season.
Yeah. I mean, Janelle was the favorite over Cheryl for the first season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I don't know if they'll ever go back to Cheryl again, but at least she has one, Quinta has one, but I feel like the two of them might not win. And then, um, Rudd, I have in there because, like, I mean, I don't think it matters where he is in this ranking,
Yeah.
but I, you know, he got his first two Emmy nominations ever. Like he's never been nominated for an industry award ever. So it's like, you know, who
Mhm.
knows how they would react when presented with the chance to finally vote for
You're
him for
right.
something.
That's good.
You know, like he's been around.
Yeah, people love Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
He's a punchline in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah. I mean, Ant-Man is in it, but he's not in it.
Uh, Comedy directing, Joyce. These are the nominees: The Bear for Fishes, Hacks Bulletproof, The Bear Honeydew, Abbott Elementary for episode Party, The Gentleman, Refined Aggression for our best friend Guy Ritchie, and The Miss Pat Show, I'm the Pappy for the multicam slot.
I love to see it.
And I have The Bear Fishes winning.
Same.
I would frankly be stunned if it does not win directing.
I also said this in our column last week. I think I currently have the Bear winning the same four categories that Ted Lasso season two won: series, lead actor, supporting actor, and directing. That's a spoiler for writing coming up.
I have the same. So,
So, and you know, again, like with Ted season two, there was a lot, like, I mean, at least we did like a lot of discussion about like, oh, can it lose to like Hacks or Abbott, which was first year that then, you know, and it
yeah.
didn't. It hung on.
Hmm.
I don't think the reception to Ted season two was as mixed as the reception to the Bear season three. Um,
Yeah, I think
but
that's the thing.
yeah, and Ted season two, like Ted season three also did not premiere like while
No. But I think
what
that
was popping in
season three of
season
The
two.
Bear is actually stronger than season two of Ted. And so
Um,
not that they're voting for season three, but you know what I mean? Like that's why I was like, I don't think that I think the negative in air quotes response to The Bear season three is actually not going to impact its season two chances here.
no, but I think that is something that I like if you think that it's just illogical to dismiss it because if you're gonna think that season two positively affected season one, like it is fair to suggest that the mixed response to season three would affect some way
I guess I just don't think it
voting for season two.
will. I don't think it will. I don't think a mixed response matters as much just because I think it's a better. I think people will just go back to like I liked season two. I don't. I think it's better if it was great, it would really help. But if it's not great or mixed, it doesn't really matter. That's my thinking.
I mean, I think it's still winning. I think it's not like I don't think it's fair to say like it's not going to affect it at all. Like
But
if you're not like a Bear stan, like you're just kind of like on the fence about it, and now you just like right now you're watching season three and you're not into it, like that could affect you when you're voting for winners, you know?
here's where I think not that will affect, but I do think that one of the sticky things for the backlash on the Bear is that it's not a comedy, which we've talked about and I actually don't care about. But I do think in writing it will make a difference. So I have those nominees are the Bear for Fishes, Hacks Bulletproof, Abbott Elementary Career Day, What We Do in the Shadows, Pride Parade, Girls Five Eva Orlando, and the other two Brooke hosts a night of undeniable good. And I have Hacks Bulletproof winning.
Same.
I think there's a frustration among people that The Bear is still classified as a comedy. And I don't think that's going to go away. And even if the second season was great and the third season, whatever, people are still, no matter what, they're like, this is not a comedy. And so I think that could show itself here.
Um, I mean I have that. I mean I don't have it winning here just because um the writers branch has the best taste essentially.
Yeah.
And I think, um, you know, obviously the Bear won last year, but I think with Hacks back, a previous winner, you know, who previously or which previously beat the series winner Ted Lasso, you know, I am with a very strong third season. Like I think it'll have the edge here. And over something like Fishes 2, which is not is more of a directorial achievement and an acting achievement than a writing achievement.
And the writers seem most frustrated that Bear is a comedy. And I think
I
especially
think that's
because it's like
more secondary, but I do agree with like the mixed reception to season 3 bringing about more criticism about the fact that it's not a comedy. I think that encourages more people to be vocal about this when obviously this has been a talking point since the show premiered.
And we've talked about how it's not, it doesn't, I don't care. I don't think you care either, like about this, but I
No,
do
I don't
think,
care at all because you know what this is not the show's fault. It like take your beef up with the awards bodies that let them compete
yeah.
in comedy, you know?
But I do think, and I think in the wake, one of the stick to me, not even the backlash in quotes to season 3, but one of the stickiest complaints I saw after these Emmy nominations were that how dare the Bear break 30 Rock's record for comedy nominations. Like I saw multiple variations of like people complaining about that, and seeming like industry or industry adjacent people
It's funny
complaining about
because
that.
I've started like my second 30 Rock rewatch in 6 months, 2 weeks ago. So,
Show
um,
is fucking hilarious. We've been watching it
one of
too.
my
It's
faves,
it's just
like,
there's
and
nonstop
also,
jokes,
yeah,
nonstop jokes, and to say that The Bear is now most comedy nominations over 30 Rock, which is a show that has more jokes in a 30-minute
I
cold
quote
open,
it every day.
more jokes in a cold open than The Bear has had in 3 seasons. Uh, Not a great look, and that's also why I'm like actually very confident Hacks will win here. I know like Fishes is still top in the odds, and I definitely think Fishes will win for directing, like obviously, and I think like you said, it's much more of a directorial achievement than necessarily a writing achievement. And it won last year, but it didn't face Hacks, and like there you go. So
Yeah, like it'll be awesome if Hacks could pull the double again, writing and directing, but um, directing, I mean, I guess there is a world where maybe the Bears two noms in directing would split, but I don't really know how many votes like Honeydew would pull from Fishes. You know, I have Hacks in second, obviously
yeah,
there,
I don't
but
feel like I mean Honeydew is really good, but I don't think people care about it at all compared to like Fishes and Forks.
no, and it's basically just like it was basically just submitted because Rami Youssef directed it.
Yeah, it'll be like this year, Io will get nominated for her episode for Navians, probably. And then like they'll have like 2 nominations again, basically.
Like it would be better for Hacks if it was like 3 years ago when Ted had triple nominations. So I
Yes.
was like, Hacks is winning
Yeah.
that. But with just two, which shows can overcome another nomination, I think Fishes will win there. And then
Yeah.
yeah, writing. I love this category. I love that it's just single nominations for shows too, which is great.
Yeah.
So, and
Really good.
like even though Murders missed, but I think it was just right out like in seventh. But Girls Five Eva getting back in, other two retaining its spot. I have Shadows in third because we know the writers love it, and this is the first time it's been nominated in writing without multiple, or the first time it's had a single nomination writing because other times I had multiple. So
I have Abbott in third and I have Shadows in fourth. And then Girls Five Evan in the other two.
I have Abbott in six.
Wow. I think you're anti-dicting Abbott then, in that case.
I mean, no, why? Just because something has to be a six.
Well, I mean it's won previously.
Yeah, but it also missed last year.
Yeah, but now it's back.
It's
I don't think
back,
it's
but you don't
six.
have it winning. No,
I don't have it
I have
winning, but
it. I have it in six because I think the other shows, like obviously top two, Hacks and The Bear, but I think Shadows, other two, and Girls Five Eva have passion from the writers. I wouldn't have Abbott in six if it's the entire Academy voting, because I think obviously Abbott is a bigger show than a canceled show, and Girls Five Eva, and it's bigger than Shadows. But with the writers branch, like they went out of their way to nominate other two years in a row when no one was watching it. It was canceled last year and it's just competing this year for orphan episodes. And they brought Girls Five Eva back. So I think it just has those shows have more passion. Whereas like they've already dropped Abbott last year. Like it's great for that, it came back this year. But I don't I mean it doesn't matter, but like that's why I have it in six.
okay. Drama categories now, Joyce. These are a lot less interesting to me. No disrespect to these shows. For series, the nominees are Shōgun, The Crown, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Slow Horses, The Morning Show, Fallout, The Gilded Age, and Three Body Problem. And I have Shōgun winning Best Drama Series.
Well, I'm assuming you have Mr. and Mrs. Smith in second.
I have Mr. and Mrs. Smith in second, and Slow Horses in third, then The Crown and The Morning Show, and then The Gilded Age, Fallout, and Three Body Problem. What do you have?
Shōgun, Slow Horses, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, The Crown, The Morning Show, Fallout, The Gilded Age, and Three Body Problem.
I get the sense when we get to writing later, this is why
You
I'll
know
have
what I'll
Mr.
have? I already said last week what
and
I'll
I
have.
have and I have Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And so that's where we're gonna differ, and that's why I have Mr. and Mrs. Smith in the runner-up spot. Um, but Shogun, congratulations on your Emmy. This feels like really like locked into me.
This is not very interesting. I think other drama categories will be interesting, but series, no.
It seems like it would take, I don't even, again, not even simple. I just don't know what it would take for me to move off of Shogun, frankly.
No, it's like it's not the same as Succession, but like that's like a similar vibe, whereas like it could lose some of these other categories. Um, but it would still win
And
series.
the other problem is, if you're thinking of an upset here, the Bear has a very obvious runner-up in Hacks that could easily win. And here, I don't think there is a consensus number two.
No, which is why people were wanted a limited series to move into drama, right? That was the whole thing this spring. And
Yeah.
then once Shogun moved, people were ecstatic
Yeah,
to
because that's
slot
it.
it to first.
There's no
Like,
competition.
think about how much more fun this category would be if Shogun were still unlimited. So we'll assume we have the other seven nominees, and then we have an
Mhm.
eighth in like winning time, right?
Fantastic.
Like, let's say winning time.
Well, I'd have winning
Like,
time
that would
winning.
be so much more fun with given how like Slow Horses and Mr. and Mrs. Smith overperformed. The Crown came back with 18 nominations,
I think
right?
a
I don't
lot of
think Morning Show
people,
would win,
I
but
don't think, I think a lot of people would have the Crown in first. I think I'd have Mr. and Mrs. Smith in first, and you'd have Slow Horses in first.
like that would be like such a fun race without
Yeah,
Shogun
it
here.
would. But alas, maybe another timeline choice. For drama actress, the nominees are Anna Sawai for Shogun, Imelda Staunton in The Crown, Jennifer Aniston in The Morning Show, Maya Erskine, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Reese Witherspoon in The Morning Show, and Carrie Coon for The Gilded Age, and I have Anna Sawai winning for Shogun.
Same.
I have Imelda in second, and I have Maya Erskine in third.
You have Imelda after not predicting her.
Yes. I
I have
think the
Jen
fact that she's
second.
in is just like, it's an easy narrative and name check to be like, oh, well, the other actresses won for their final seasons as Queen Elizabeth. Like, why wouldn't she? That kind of thing. I don't think she's going to win, but it is an easy, you could make the connections. You could connect those dots.
Yeah, but I would feel better about her if she had even gotten a individual SAG nomination for this.
Yeah.
Like it's not a good look for her not only to have been snubbed last year at the Emmys, but not to have gone in individually at SAG for either season. Um, whereas Elizabeth Debicki did, and obviously Olivia Colman and Claire Foy did
Yeah.
too. So I guess it's not impossible for her to just go from zero to hero with that narrative of all the queens winning for their final seasons. But I don't know, because I think like with Claire, season two was obviously her best season, and there was so much passion for that performance. And all the ads that year were just centered on her. Like the pull quotes on the billboards were just quoting reviews being like, this is the last. Little did we know it was not the last time, but it was like, this is the last time you can watch Claire Foy on The Crown and all this stuff. And she won. And I think Olivia, that I think, that's it was a good performance. But I think it was like kind of the steamroll of season four that kind of lifted her to the win over Emma Corrin. So, uh, and then Imelda, I think it sucks for her that she was on the two weakest seasons of the show and she was already snubbed last year. Um, so I don't know. I have her in fourth. I have Anna, Jen, Maya, Imelda, Reese, and Carrie.
Nice. So we flipped Jen and Maya and Imelda. That's funny. Maya feels very safe for me in third. I think that the base way the show performed, she's
After
got
you
to
were
be
so
candidate.
worried about her
I
getting on.
was, but I think that was warranted. But I'm glad she got in.
I
Uh,
don't like I think Anna is safer than Hero to
yes,
win.
yes.
And I I don't really know, like no one no one really kind of makes sense to beat her, here.
Well, that's the other thing, and I think you could argue again, like we're saying in terms of series. I don't know if there's a consensus number. I mean, Mel Destant is the number two in the odds, but I don't think there's a consensus number two here who would generate enough unified support to take down Anna Sawai, who is like the obvious breakout of the show and like everybody loves.
Yeah, I have Jen in second because, she was a SAG nominee and the actors love that show. Um, so and she had like the better season than Reese,
Yeah,
right, in season three.
yeah.
So
For actor choice, the nominees, like you said, are Hiroyuki Sanada for Shogun, Gary Oldman, Slow Horses, Donald Glover, Mr. and Miss Smith, Dominic West, The Crown, Walton Goggins, Fallout, and Idris Elba for Hijack. And this is honestly a coin flip for me, and I keep going back and forth. Right now, I have Hero winning for Shogun, but I could really see myself going to Gary Oldman by the time we get to the picks later.
I really wanted to do Gary. I'm not going to do him yet, so I have Hero
It just
right now.
feels like it would make so the way slow. I think going into the nominations, I didn't expect Slow Horses to do as well as it did, though I thought it would do well, and we had it in a lot of the spots, but it overperformed, I would say. And Shogun, while you would say it performed really well, and Hero not having Cosmo here maybe is a sign that it makes him even stronger because he has no internal competition. I do think it also underperformed, like we said, in its acting nominations. And Hero's not the character is not the lead of the show. I would argue he's actually like the third lead behind Cosmo and Anna. So I don't know if that matters.
He's kind of like Brian Cox, like
Yeah, he
last
is.
year.
We've talked about that. He is like
Yeah.
Logan, and Logan obviously never won for Succession. And I'm like, I don't know. I could see them going Gary Oldman here. I really, really could. Especially if they do a great job in phase two of getting out there. And Hero would still win as a producer on Shogun. So I'm like, not
Yes.
that people care about that, but like,
No, they don't care, nor do they know that he's a producer. But
but
we
he's
know.
like more of like he was the like it's funny. Like I feel like he's one of the creative drivers of the show,
Yes,
along
and
with
he's
like
very proud of it. Like he
yes.
loves talking about the input he got to have on the show. He
But the
loves that.
character, because he is like pulling the strings in the background, has much less to do on screen than Cosmo and Anna. So I could see him losing. I'll probably will switch to Gary Oldman by the time we get to our final picks, but for now I'm gonna stick with Hero.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I've always been wary about the Shogun acting performance with, a lot of people over predicting it. And I was always like, I don't know about this just because of like the acting style. It's like the opposite of the morning show. And the show was untested. We don't know how much they love the show. And I think they like it a lot. But again, it's clearly not a Succession overperforming in acting, especially. It only got 5 acting nominations,
Yep.
you know.
So
And like I know like some people are probably predicting like 10 or something, it's like
we were. I mean, I we
but
had at least eight, I
I mean,
think.
that's why I dropped someone from supporting actor.
Yeah.
I dropped the wrong person. I should have dropped Takuma, but I dropped Takahiro. I didn't get any supporting actresses in. And I don't know if like is it strong enough to win both leads? Like is it I don't know if it's like that type of show.
I
Like
don't
it is
think
a
it
weak
is.
year,
Yeah.
essentially in drama, but like is it that type of show that is strong enough to win both leads? And I again, like I think Anna is safer just because of like her competition, but
I don't know about you, but it feels like to me that like Gary is a much more consensus number two.
yes. I mean, Gary
So
wasn't first before Shogun moved,
yes.
right? But I think a lot of people also thought of him at that point as just a placeholder because
Yes.
people were waiting for like new shows to drop, like Fallout, or something to see if like this is gonna hit and we'll have a new frontrunner. But because I think the thing is, like, Slow Horses is an older show, so and it obviously had never been nominated before, so this is its big break. Like they caught up to the show, obviously. Um, so I think, yeah, like Gary is like an obvious number two to Hero. And yeah, like he is an actual lead. I don't think that that really matters, but it's like he it's like more overt, I guess, because I think like with Shogun, with Toranaga, you don't really appreciate everything until the finale of like what he's doing when like all his cards are on the table,
Yes.
you know? So I don't know. I mean I have him in first, the hero.
I'll keep him in first, like I said, but I don't. I think when we get down to the final picks, I'll probably put Gary Oldman in there at some point. I don't know. I think there's. I think what you're saying about is it really strong enough to win? It is, I guess, technically strong enough. It could win both lead acting nominations that it has, but it just feels like Gary would make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. And I feel like no one is talking enough about Cosmos now because I think most people don't like that performance. But if Shogun were that strong, like it should have been able to get him in over like Idris, you know?
It's kind of crazy that he wouldn't get in. Like he's got
Yeah.
all his scenes with the two actors who are nominated. He's like the lead of the show, and it's subverting like the white male lead character. So it's like actually like a really great thing. And his performance is maybe weird, like you're saying, or like people don't like it, but it's also hilarious. I don't know. I think he should have gotten in. Like a no-brainer to me that he should have gotten in, especially over Idris on a show
Yeah.
Hijack that has been less watched than like anything here
He's
by a lot.
Hijack's only nomination.
It's like so. Anyway, for supporting actress in drama series, Elizabeth Debicki, Leslie Manville, Christine Baranski, and then four actresses from the morning show: Greta Lee, Holland Taylor, Nicole Bahari, and Karen Pittman. And I have Elizabeth Debicki, and I'm not thinking that much about this category at all.
No, we don't need to talk about this one. But which morning show actress do you have highest?
I have Greta Lee and then Holland Taylor.
I have Greta, Karen, Holland, and Nicole.
Nice.
But those
I,
are my bottom four.
I have them in the bottom four too, and I have Karen and I have Greta, Holland, Karen, and Nicole. So.
Great. Amazing. Congrats to us.
For supporting actor, this one could go. I think this one's pretty close as well. But right now, the nominees are Billy Crudup for The Morning Show, Tatanobu Asano for Shogun, John Hamm for The Morning Show, Jonathan Pryce for The Crown, Takehiro Hira for Shogun, Jack Lowden for Slow Horses, and Mark Duplass for The Morning Show. I have Billy Crudup winning for The Morning Show.
I do too. And I have Tadanobu in second.
I have Tatanobu in second. Breakout character, obviously like a beloved performance. I think he could win, but I actually think Billy is so like lives so large on the morning show that I feel like that will push him over the top as a former winner here as well.
To me, it's also like the morning show. We know the actors love it. It got 10 acting nominations altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like, would it be weird for him for it to, I guess it could happen, but like, would it lose all 10? And this is obviously the best chance of it has of winning one of those awards. You know, it has literally double the acting nominations that Shogun has. Um, and I don't know. I think like given how like the nominations played out, I think Billy has a slight edge over Tadanobu.
Yeah,
Even though of Shogun's acting nominations, if I could only give it one acting win, I would give it to Tadanobu.
it's definitely he's definitely like the breakout character, but I agree with what you're saying, and I think Billy. I just don't think they'll pass up a chance to have him win, and he's really great, and he's a hilarious. It's a great performance. So
I mean, remember, like, you know, we were talking about like what if Apple pushes him lead, you know, because they could have, right?
I
Like
think if
back when
Apple,
people were like trying to fill up drama and drama lead actor.
I'll say this: I think if he was in lead, I'd have him winning in lead over Gary and Hero. So I think he's like almost like not undeniable, but I think it's like a really big performance that they would love to honor again.
I have Jack in third.
Wow. I have Jonathan Price in third.
Well, I mean, they're related on slow horses, so you just have opposite. But I think the Jack's nomination shows that like they have caught up to the show and they are watching the show and paying attention because like the other regular Shogun acting nominee could have easily been a Kristen Scott Thomas name check,
Yep.
you know. So
I have Jack in fourth, John in fifth, Takehiro in sixth, and Mark Duplass in seventh.
I have Takahiro, Jonathan, John, and mark.
For drama directing, Joyce, the nominees were Shogun for Crimson Sky, The Crown, Sleep, Dearie Sleep, Mr. and Mrs. Smith First Date, The Morning Show, The Overview Effect, Slow Horses, Strange Games, and Winning Time, Beat LA. And I have
And you have Winning
Shogun.
Time winning.
I want to, but I have Shogun winning for Crimson Sky.
Same. I have Slow Horses in second.
I have The Crown in second because I think the narrative around Stephen Daldry could be really compelling. I have Slow Horses in third, Mr. and Mrs. Smith in fourth, The Morning Show, and then Winning Time.
I have Mr. Smith in third, The Crown, Morning Show, and Winning Time.
I don't think it's a total slam dunk that Shogun wins this, but I think it will. But if the Crown, if even if the, I don't think like the series is in doubt, but I could see like the Crown winning here, like very easily.
I also like this category because we have single nominees here for each show, and we
Yes.
have a total shocker in Winning Time. And they could have easily doubled up on some of the, like, especially Shogun, right? And
Yeah.
we were talking about, like, it over submitted, so it could have gone three if it really loved the show, like a Succession, and it didn't. So that's actually good for Shogun because it's not gonna split the vote.
Yes.
But so like it should win this. But yeah, like with how it played out here, like I wouldn't be shocked if something else won. I don't think Morning Show or Winning Time would win, so I think like any of my top four.
Yeah. I would go Crown because I think like I said, Daldry coming back, they made a huge deal about that for the final episode, and like it's won directing previously, so I don't know.
Yeah,
With
I
stronger
did
seasons and
Slow
stuff.
Horses because that was like the bigger shocker here of it getting in. Like, I mean, like I expected to get into writing, but not directing,
Right.
you know. So
For writing, the nominees here are Shogun for Crimson Sky, Slow Horses, Negotiating with Tigers, Mr. and Mrs. Smith First Date, Shogun Anjin, The Crown Ritz, and Fallout The End. And here I have Mr. and Mrs. Smith winning for First Date.
of course you do. I obviously have Slow Horses.
I have Slow Horses in second. And then I have Shogun, Crimson Sky, and Anjin third and fourth, The Crown, and then Fallout.
I have Crimson Sky in second, Miss and Miss Smith, Anjin, Ritz, and then The End from Fallout.
Uh, I think either Slow Horses or Mr. and Mrs. Smith is going to win this. I don't think Shogun will.
Um, well, neither you nor I are huge fans of Anjin. That was a rough pilot, but I'm also not surprised the pilot was nominated because they just, they like pilots. Um, but I think this is like one similar to The Bear. Like they can Shogun and The Bear could both lose writing and win directing and win series.
Yeah.
So
So I went Slow Horses because I mean, Mr. and Mrs. Smith because I thought like Francesca Sloan is probably, I feel like is like on the ascendant here as a potential, like as a showrunner and a writer, I think people really respect and has done really great work previously. Will Smith also has done really great work previously and is a former Emmy nominee as well and a winner as a producer. So I'm like, I could see him winning easily as well, but I felt like Mr. and Mrs. Smith is like the runner-up series, so I'm gonna have Francesca Sloan winning here for writing.
I just have Slow Horses with, again, similar to what I was saying before for comedy, like the writers with the taste. It's like it got in, and I think overall, even though it's not the whole Academy voting, it shows the strength of Slow Horses in the categories it did get into. Like, I think if you look at it, didn't get the most nominations, it got 9. But if you look at the categories it got into, like, that's a great package for Slow Horses. It just shows like it
Yeah.
really broke through with
Yeah.
them. So, and it just kind of feels like a writing winner too. Like, even if Gary doesn't win, kind of feels like it reminds me of Succession. like I knew Succession was winning for season 1,
Right.
and it didn't it, like it obviously didn't get writing or acting nominations for season 1, but I'm like, this is such a writerly show.
Right. I feel like that with Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I guess, but I guess we'll see. Uh, limited series, Joyce, our final stretch before we get to emails. Nominees are limited series are Baby Reindeer, True Detective, Night Country, Fargo, Ripley, and Lessons in Chemistry, and have Baby Reindeer winning.
Yes.
Not much to say here. I think while I don't have it winning, I don't have a clean sweep for Baby Reindeer, spoiler alert, perhaps anti-dicting it. But I do think it will have no problem winning series.
Um, it's funny because I think the limited genre will end up becoming the most boring of these genres after nominations. Like there are some still interesting races in comedy and drama. We could still end up with boring winners in the end, but there's still enough to talk about with drama and comedy now, whereas with limited, not so much. Um, so yeah, Baby Reindeer, I have True Detective in second,
Same.
and then Ripley, Fargo, and Lessons.
I
So
have
True
Fargo
Detective, the
Ripley.
most nominated limited series, which no
Yeah.
one is talking about.
Yep. For actress in a limited series or movie, nominees were Jodie Foster for True Detective, Brie Larson, Juno Temple, Sofia Vergara, and Naomi Watts. And I have Jodie Foster winning for True Detective.
Same.
Based on how the nominations shook out, I don't actually think this is very competitive.
Who do you have in second?
Brie, I think, but I think
I
she's a
have
distant second.
I have Naomi in second
Nice.
because Feud overperformed. And I mean, it got like the basic 4 nominations that most people were expecting, but you know, it got the surprise directing nomination.
Hmm.
It got 10 total, and it was probably just in sixth in series. And Naomi's performance is the best on the show, and I think it will have more passion than these other ones. So I think like it was harder for her to get in based on just kind of like the general like low key response to the show itself. But
Hmm.
she got in, and you know, like it's a raved performance. So I think it she can be competitive, but I still have Jodie winning.
Nice. Uh, for actor, nominees are Richard Gad for Baby Reindeer, Andrew Scott for Ripley, John Hamm for Fargo, Tom Hollander for Feud, and Matt Bomer for Fellow Travelers. And here I have an upset. I'm going Andrew Scott. I'm just going to ride this one into the
You're just
ground.
anti-dicting Baby Reindeer.
I am anti-dicting Baby Reindeer, and I think it's reasonable to suggest that Richard Gad is not could not win for actor, but obviously he's the favorite. But I think no one leaves that show, I don't think, talking about his performance. I think they're talking about the show, the writing, Jessica Gunning, and then maybe his performance, like fourth. And so Andrew Scott is like the focus point of Ripley. It's so much so that you could argue that the only reason the show is nominated for series is because people liked his performance so much.
But Richard is the focus of Baby Reindeer, and he's
Yes, but I
the
don't think people like
creator.
the. I just don't think people like are could be completely wrong. And like I said, I don't like the show, so I'm anti-dicting it perhaps. But I don't think the performance to me, even if I liked it, I would say like is not something I walked away from being like this is great.
I mean, that may be true for you, but people were obsessed with the sixth episode and his breakdown on stage. So like I think that's like what people would focus on. Like in terms of his acting performance, I think that's the first recall that people would have, and then probably episode 4 and everything that happens in episode
Right.
4. Um I like the when Baby Reindeer exploded in April, I and then it was confirmed to be competing here because it was unclear since Netflix did not see this coming. I was excited to be able to predict it because I knew it would be win competitive in series, um, and an actor and supporting actress, and obviously in writing and directing too. But it was it was not because like it's my favorite show, but it was like I knew it could win these things, and it was kind of like exciting to have something unexpected in the race. And I
Mhm.
think his like that was why I put him in first over Hero back when Shogun was still here, because his performance is more the type like they like to vote for than like what we were saying with Hero's performance too. And I know like at that point you still had Hero at first because we were hope dicking him to win.
What do you think?
So
I mean, like that also back to the drama actor. I think what you're saying there is also reason to suspect that he won't win drama actor because I think you would have Richard Gadd probably in first over him here.
oh yeah, for sure. Like I if Shogun were still here, I would still have Richard in first. And I mean, I have Andrew in second, so I would have Andrew in first, obviously, if Baby Reindeer did not exist.
Right.
But I think like, as beloved a person as Andrew is, and as admired as that performance is, like I think it's also kind of like not as exciting as the discovery of Baby Reindeer for people. And because like Richard is more new to people, and then like I think he will, like as you like to say so often, like get brave points for like putting his story out there and performing these scenes as well.
Let me ask you this: if I May Destroy You was a Netflix show the year it came out, would Michaela Cole have won Best Actress?
No, I don't think so, because that was like that year with Mayor of Easttown. I think you could see the passion building for that show and the actors' performances on it, because that is a very emotional show and very character driven show, Mayor of
Hmm.
Easttown.
Okay,
So that was a great category for actress.
it was.
That
But
show.
I just would. I mean, like, I wonder if we're overrating the Baby Rain. Like,
Like I don't think Kate Winslet and Mayor of Easttown and Andrew Scott and Ripley are the same.
no, and I don't think Richard Gadd and Michaela Cole are the same
No.
either. I guess I would say. I just think it's like I think we're overrating maybe the discover. And again, I don't like it, so whatever, grain of salt. But I'm like, I do think we're overrating the discovery aspect now because it's already just, you know what I mean? Like, it's already discovered. And I do wonder, like last year, Stephen Yeun was like a clear winner here, and like Beef was like the discovery of last year, right, where it kind of came up a little bit of a surprise show that people really loved.
But like we knew it was gonna premiere. Like it was like on like the release radar. Like we knew Netflix
Sure, but it
wanting
was
it.
like I think it was a
We
surprise
weren't
that
like we knew it was gonna compete at the Emmys. We didn't
okay,
know that
people were gonna
Baby Reindeer was gonna
right.
compete at the Emmys until it became a huge hit, and then they confirmed it.
And you don't think like to me, I'm like I think the performance, the fact that it's not like I do think Jessica Gunning is like clearly going to win, which we'll do here in a second. But I'm like, I think she's like the breakout performer on the show. And I guess I was just like, I don't know. I feel like everyone like does the enthusiasm for Andrew Scott also help him here, where everybody likes Andrew Scott.
I mean, I have them top two, so it's not like I have them dead
No, I
last.
know,
I
but I'm
don't
saying in
like.
terms of winning, that's another thing I think would put him over the edge on Richard Gadd to me.
I I think it's like I think this is like the similar argument people were making with Andrew with All the Strangers. Like people want him to get nominated and want him to win for things just because they like him, and like he's a great actor. But I think there's a lot of hope dictating part of that too.
I think there is a little, but I think there's more
Because I
hope
don't think
now.
there's that same attachment. There's not that same kind of like personal standing of Richard as there is with Andrew. You know what I mean?
So that's,
Like
I mean, that I
I
agree.
think like with Richard, I think it's more admiration of the work.
Well, I
Whereas
didn't,
like with
yeah.
Andrew, it's kind of like I like Andrew, like the personality and his celebrity.
I think it's more believable that he wouldn't for Ripley because it's way more widely seen than All of Us Strangers and way more accessible than All of Us Strangers, even if we know people didn't love it. Like it is way easier to watch, I think, than All of Us Strangers.
Well, yes, I agree about that. But I think I mean like Baby Reindeer is still bigger than Ripley.
Yeah, no, I know.
So
For limited series support actress, I spoil this, but I have Jessica Gunning winning. The other nominees are Callie Reese for True Detective, Nava Mao for Baby Reindeer, Aja Naomi King for Lessons in Chemistry, Lily Gladstone for Under the Bridge, Diane Lane for Feud, and Dakota Fanning for Ripley.
well, yeah, I don't know.
Who
Nothing
do
to
you have in
say.
second?
Second, I have Kaylee
Same.
because True Detective is the most nominated
Same.
limited series. So, and then I have Asia, and then Nava, and then Diane, Dakota, and Lily.
That's funny. I have Nava, and then Asia, then Dakota, Diane, and Lily. Lily, complete name check. No disrespect.
I I don't think Nava would hurt Jessica, obviously, at
No.
all, really. And so I don't have her that high
I don't think she
because
would hurt her at all, but I think she's so good on the show that people really respond to that
she is, but I
character.
also kind of feel like she's kind of been, even though like the three of them had were the focus of the campaign, I feel like she's kind of been not totally forgotten, but not like highlighted as much by people because it's
Yeah.
really so much like about Richard and Jessica.
Yeah.
So, um, but she was obviously safe for the nomination, and yeah, so Jessica will win, and congratulations. So,
Uh,
I don't know.
for supporting actor, this one we're so excited by because it's a complete mess. The nominees: Jonathan Bailey for Fellow Travelers, Robert Downey Jr. for The Sympathizer, Tom Goodman Hill for Baby Reindeer, John Hawkes for True Detective, Lewis Pullman for Lessons in Chemistry, Treat Williams for Feud, and Lamorne Morris for Fargo. And I have Jonathan Bailey winning for Fellow Travelers.
I know last week I said I wasn't gonna do him, but I needed to move on, because I couldn't think about this. So I also have Jonathan in first,
I
but
think he's gonna win.
this category is a nightmare.
I have John Hawkes in second and Tom Goodman Hill in third.
So I initially put RDJ in sixth.
I have
Again,
him
I
in
know I,
seventh.
I had to move on. But here's my thinking since last Wednesday. I feel like oftentimes everyone overthinks certain categories. And sometimes it turns out the simplest answer or the most obvious answer is the correct answer. And like last year, we were all overthinking comedy actress, which you could kind of say was similar to this race without like a clear cut frontrunner. Jean was not in the mix. And then we were defaulting to Quinta, and it's like, will she really win? Or will they like go back to Rachel, who had like, a great final season of Maisel and like all this stuff. So I think we overthought that, and it was still just Quinta, and I think we did that with a limited supporting actress last year with like Niecy Nash Betts versus Claire Danes too. It's like, you know, Fleischman overperformed, like Claire has the tape and everything, and Monster was well watched, but not beloved, but it was still just Niecy. And I kept Paul Walter Hauser for Blackbird, but you were way off of him because you thought he was not going to win because Blackbird was snubbed in series.
Mm-hmm.
And you went all in on beef with Young Mazzino. You thought it was going to sweep, and PWH won,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. So it's like they were all kind of like either the front runners or like early favorites, and they all ended up winning. And we've seen that happen, in other years too, like Ben Whishaw in this category was like a very English scandal, not nominated for series, but he was kind of like the early front runner for the winter and won, right? And 3 years ago, Mark Ruffalo, Science Bro, the lone nominee for the HBO limited series. I know this much is true. Oh no, it was 4 years ago, right? Yeah. And he ended up winning, uh, even though it was like, he was the lone nominee that show tanked, right? And but it was like he had this momentum, um, going in, not really momentum, but it was like he was just like the favorite this whole time. So it's like, was it just kind of like, they're not thinking about it. And it's like they see these odds and these, sites like ours and other places. And it's like they just check off Mark Ruffalo because, like, I mean, I know I predicted Paul Mescal for normal people back then, So it's like, is RDJ Mark Ruffalo in this situation where it's kind of like he is the early front runner, even though his show tanked. Um,
And he's
but
the
I think
biggest
that
name.
Yeah, but the difference is though, like Mark, um, he he had wins from the winter, and obviously RDJ has not competed in the winter yet, and Jonathan has, and he just has the Critics' Choice win. That's it. He wasn't even nominated at the Globes. He wasn't nominated at SAG, which PWH was last year. PWH and Nisi Nash Betts had uh Critics' Choice wins and Globe nominations, and PWH also won the Globe. Um, and like Ben Whishaw won the Globe too. So it's like you could argue that Jonathan is front runner because coming from the winter, he's the only one with hardware. But then like in terms of buzz, like I would argue that RDJ had like more general buzz because of the multiple roles he's playing on the show, even though that the show flopped in the end.
Yeah, all that is true. So I guess you're saying I should put RDJ in second then.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel like I should move him higher. I think like our knee-jerk reaction, obviously, to the nominations last week was like, he's the lone nominee for this show, and it's not, uh, you know, he's not going to win in that case. And I think it's similar. Like people also want Jonathan to win too, and it like fellow travelers didn't do that much, but it did better. It got 3 nominations. It got Matt and writing as well, also in the series.
I I think Jonathan profiles more to me as like Paul Walter Hauser, even though he doesn't have as many wins or nominations. And I think RDJ would be an easy name check, and it makes a lot of sense to think of him as like Ruffalo from that year, like you're suggesting. But I also think we're still getting shit by. I know I shouldn't read the comments, Joyce, but I was still getting shit by this because I'm like, people confuse the fact that we don't take these shows seriously as contenders versus quality. I'm like, there's not really a lot of value judgment
No,
on this show, but I'm like, Fellow Travelers was not. It's a Paramount Plus with Peacock or whatever the fuck it's called. Paramount Plus with Showtime, right? What is it? Showtime show, whatever it is. Not the not the greatest track record, right? In terms of Emmy voters and watching. So I don't think we were wrong to suggest that he wasn't as strong as contender as maybe some people thought heading into the
no, and
nominations.
yeah, I I feel like people kind of conflate predictions with personal preference, and I mean, like I rarely ever predict with my personal preference, and if I do, I will just say it that I'm hope dicting someone. Like I have no problem telling you that if I'm hope dicting someone or anti-dicting, but I mean most of my predictions are usually based on history and the data that we've had and and patterns I've noticed, and it's like hardly ever based on like my personal thoughts about the show or the performance. And if I
Right.
make like a really silly or stupid prediction, I will flat out tell you I'm doing it. Like I know this prediction doesn't make sense, but for me with fellow travelers, I think it's a good show. Like it's not my favorite. I think good performances by the two of them, but I know Showtime's history in these categories. Like this could have easily gone the way of the Good Lord Bird, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like Ethan Hawke hit all the winter awards for that show. He created that show, and they just did not care for it.
Right.
It got 1 nomination for I think main title and it won that. This it could have gone the way of the Comey rule,
Hmm.
the loudest voice, And it turned out that like Fellow Travelers was more like George and Tammy.
Yeah. And
So that's
I
fine.
I think I do think he's gonna win. I think he's gonna win because like you said too, well, I think you can make the case that Downey is like a front runner and like just could be an easy name check. I also think that Bailey being top in our odds and like people like him and have been arguably over predicting him for months. That people and based on like what happened last year with like Niecy Nash Betts and Paul Walter Hauser, I think they're just checked out on like no disrespect to the like I don't think they're I think it would be overthinking to suggest that he won't win. I think if
Yeah, I,
Synthesizer
I
had
think
done better, maybe, but I mean, like, it really did flop.
it flopped. I think it's confusing right now because I think you could say that both Jonathan and RDJ were like co-front runners because like Jonathan had the Critics' Choice win, right? And he does have like the passion, right? Like people love that performance. And and then like RDJ just kind of usurped him in terms of buzz because of the sympathizer trailer, basically, and he's
Yeah.
playing multiple roles.
And his
So
Oscar win.
yeah, but it's like so it's not the same as last year. Um and yeah, I don't think they're gonna think too much about this category. It's such a weird category because like Fellow Travelers is not nominated for series, and then the people from series nominees, Tom, John, Lewis, Lamorne, I feel like they have no momentum.
No, because none of them are really the main. They're not even the third or fourth like most important characters on their show. You know what I mean? It's like they're just like not. They're not like the focal point of those shows. So I don't know.
I mean, like Lewis, they gave him an episode, right? Like that's great, but I don't know. I feel like Lessons is just happy to be nominated
Yeah, I
in
think so
a lot
too.
of these categories and treat the posthumous nomination.
Very
You
nice,
know,
but I just don't think he's gonna win. I don't know.
yeah,
I'm like I'm not confident in Jonathan Bailey winning, but I will keep him probably in first. And you just convinced me to move Robert Downey Jr. up, but I still think John Hawkes. I'll keep John Hawkes in third. I think of the other guys, because of the strength of True Detective, and because of the fact that Tom Goodman Hill is only really in two episodes and playing such a despicable character that I don't think
yeah.
he
I
could win.
think that one of the kind of drawbacks for him is that like the character as written is so villainous and evil, and there's not the same kind of like redemptive qualities that are afforded to characters that we've seen in like last year with like Paul Walter Hauser. Like obviously uh alleged serial killer is an evil person, but the way that show is, it's like he bonds with Jimmy Keen, like you get his backstory with his brother. Is like there's more understanding of that character, whereas like you don't really get any internal insight into Darian in
Right.
Baby Reindeer.
For a movie limited series directing, Joyce, the nominees are Baby Reindeer for the fourth episode, True Detective Night Country, Ripley, Fargo for the Tragedy of the Commons, Lessons in Chemistry, Perot, and Feud Capote versus Swans, the pilot. And perhaps anti-addicting, but I have reasons for this too. I have True Detective Night Country winning, Issa Lopez, and then Baby Reindeer in second.
I have Baby Reindeer.
So I was looking at the winners of this category. So the director, Veronica, how do you say her name? Veronica
Yeah.
Tofilska? What is it?
Yeah.
Veronica Tofilska. Not the creator of the show, obviously, right? And not the author of the show. So if you look at this category, you'd have to go back 10 years to Fargo when Colin Buxey won to have either the showrunner or the main director creator like not winning, including last year when Lee Sung Jin won for Figures of Light over Jake Schreier for the better episode. So it seems like a lot of times they just default to the showrunner or the writer. Ryan Murphy won for Assassination of Versace crime, American Crime Story, right? Like, and certainly it's very possible that Baby Reindeer enthusiasm sweeps the nation and it just wins. But I think because True Detective did so well, and because Isa Lopez was such a forerunner, like a out front of the show as the directorial voice and obviously the director of all the episodes, she might have the edge here. And if Richard Gadd had directed that episode, I almost would have him winning, right? I think like, but even though he didn't direct it, I don't know. That's my rationale for it. And I could have done Steve Zalian for Ripley, but I feel like True Detective obviously was the more popular show, even though it's just directors voting, but whatever.
Uh yeah, no, I agree with all that. Um I I guess like with True Detective and Ripley, like they're nominated for directing the whole series. I I don't know if I feel like they're just kind of like even to me when they're both facing off a stronger show in Baby Reindeer.
I, that makes sense, and I could say like maybe there isn't a consensus around True Detective, and then Ripley kind of then there's if there's no consensus, then Baby Reindeer would win. I just feel like maybe there would be consensus around True Detective, but I mean, who knows? Maybe that's just overestimating True Detective.
I would feel more confident in Baby Reindeer. I mean, I have it in first, but I would feel way more confident if it just had a sole director. It doesn't even have to be Richard. It could have just been Veronica for all seven.
Yeah.
Um, but she
I,
didn't because she did the first four, and then Josephine Bornbush did the last three. So it is like a single episode situation, kind of similar to Beef last year because it had multiple directors, but Beef had two nominations. And last year uh there wasn't anyone, or there wasn't a nominee who directed the entire limited series. Like we had a TV movie nominee in Dan Trachtenberg, you know?
yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, because if you look, like it is really like showrunners or like single directors, right? Like the Johan Renck for Chernobyl, obviously directed like all the episodes, right? You know, what I mean, it's not he's not the creator, but like that kind of thing. So I don't know. Maybe
yeah,
if she
and
directed the whole thing, it would be better. And maybe I'm just overthinking this and anti-dicting Baby Reindeer. But I do think this is like a spot where it could maybe not win.
it's all like the if you also look at the last or like the individual races, like I agree, like if you direct the whole series, you have the edge. So like we already discussed last year, kind of an aberration, really. So then 2 years ago, White Lotus, Mike White directed the whole thing, won. We knew he was winning anyway. But the other nominees was Single Dope Sick, Double Dropout, Made, and Station 11.
Hmm.
Single episodes. So that's kind of like a gimme too. And then 3 years ago, Scott Frank, remember that speech?
It's still going.
He directed the whole thing, Queen's Gambit. Thomas Kail, bless him, Hamilton, not winning, but congratulations. And then two eps of I May Destroy You. Craig Zobel for Mayor of Easttown, Barry Jenkins for Underground Railroad, and Matt Shackman for WandaVision. I think this one was also easy for Queen's Gambit. And then this one had more solo directors for the whole series. 2020, Unorthodox with the Upset, Maria Schreider directed the whole thing. There was a posthumous nomination for Lynn Shelton for one episode of Little Fires Everywhere, Lenny Abramson for one episode of Normal People, and then Triple Watchmen, the series winner, but the triple vote split.
Hmm.
So I think that was the vote split happening there. Otherwise, I think if Watchmen had two episodes, I think Watchmen would have just won for one of them. And then Chernobyl, Johan Rank, the whole thing. Ben Stiller for all of Escape at Dannemora, two episodes of Fosse Verdon. Stephen Frears for all of Very English Scandal, and Ava DuVernay for all of When They See Us. So this is another one where I think that was kind of easy, and it was more solo series directors than single episode ones. Ryan Murphy for Versace, Scott Frank for All of Godless, and the Jesus Christ Superstar nomination here. One episode of Looming Tower, Paternal, Barry Levinson. Oh my God, remember that movie? Patrick Melrose, the whole thing. Forever
For
Burger,
for future Oscar
and
nominee Edward Berger, maybe, or
or
according to
according to the
Focus,
trailer, Academy Award winner.
according
He's not.
to Focus features Academy Award winner Edward
He's
Berger.
not. He's not.
Is he also does he moonlight as the country Germany or what?
Yeah. He is Germany.
He is
Um,
Germany.
and David Lynch for Twin Peaks. And then, yeah, like Versace was the series frontrunner. Like none of these other shows or movies were strong. And like Ryan is not like the showrunner of any of the American Crime Stories, but he just directs episodes
Right.
here and there. So that makes sense too. Big Little Lies. And then it was single episodes of the other nominees: Fargo, Feud, Genius, Two Night Ofs, Night Manager, Suzanne Bier, the whole thing, all the way. Fargo one episode, and triple OJ. Otherwise, OJ probably would have won.
Do you think the fact that there's only one Baby Reindeer will help it win as the front runner for series?
Yes. I think, we know that branch is also lazy, like it kind of defaults to the series winner.
Right.
I mean, I would love it if True Detective won series.
I really think it's possible that it will win. Obviously, if Baby Reindeer won, I wouldn't be surprised, but I do think you can make the case that it could win. And I think it'll definitely like the next be the writing here to wrap up. It definitely is going to win writing. This one I'm more sure of than any. I mean, Baby Reindeer. If
This
this
was
doesn't win
like
writing,
easiest, one of the easiest calls.
the other nominees are Ripley, Fargo for the Tragedy of the Commons, True Detective for Part 6, Black Mirror, Joan is Awful, and Fellow Travelers. You're wonderful, but Baby Reindeer here has to win, like steamroll.
Yeah.
So I would have Baby. I feel more. I feel very confident Baby Reindeer winning series, supporting actress, and writing. Of the other two, I feel more confident in Richard Gadd over Andrew Scott, even though I picked Andrew Scott. And then I think lastly would be directing. And I think True Detective, which I'm predicting, I think has a really good shot of being an upset winner there. But I guess we'll see.
I would love for Issa to win because you know people will be mad and it will delight me.
I think people would be really mad. I'm trying to figure out like I feel like do you think the branch would be like excited to stick it to Nick Pizzolatto or like,
Yes.
so that's also why I was like, it just feels like this is something I think that could happen. And the show is really widely, like, it was very well liked, obviously, by the Academy. So,
I mean, I was always feeling good about True Detective. It
yeah,
was
no, I
one of
mean,
the
we always
few
had it in,
this
basically.
year, and it like the industry liked it, like
Yep.
people watched it. Um, so including Kenya Barris,
Yes.
who loved it. So yeah.
All right, let's do emails here because we've been going on for so long, Joyce. And remember, if you're watching this on Thursday, email us now because we could read
Today's
it
actually Tuesday for us. So
Tuesday for us now. We're recording next week's on Friday. So email us now to talk for next week's episode. But for now, we have a lot of emails, Joyce. Going to start with our pal Gina, who emailed last week, I believe. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Hope you're both doing well. Let me start by saying thank you to Joyce for correcting me on Better Call Saul's nomination count in my last email. And
oh,
for I'm still learning to check and correct things I type before I click send. LOL.
listen, I don't want the 0 for 53 to be true. I would rather
Gina,
it be 0 for 27.
Gina, by expressing like contrition here and also saying you're learning to check and correct things, you're doing better than 90% of journalists I read online.
Very true.
Here's Gina's email. While Abbott Elementary's nomination for directing made me happy, it also left me feeling disappointed. Why would the Television Academy wait till now to do this? I say this because I think back to when it competed for its first season against Ted Lasso and lost, and if it had gotten a directing nomination back then when it started off so strong, it probably would have performed a little better, even though I feel like it shouldn't have had to wait. It shouldn't have had to be that way in the first place. And although Quinto won an acting and writing prize, Abbott only getting a directing nom now feels like a slap in the face since Abbott's chances of winning Best Comedy Series are getting dimmer by the minute. It doesn't help that multiple comedy writers in the industry have expressed their disdain for how their line of work is being impacted as a result of the Bears' record breaking performance, on top of the uphill battle a show like Abbott has to climb in the main broadcast series at the Emmys. I have other thoughts on this year's nominees, mainly praising Asian Naomi King's Lessons in Chemistry nomination and Maya Rudolph's 4 nominations. But for the most part, it felt like a letdown on my end. Would love to know more of your thoughts. Thank you for listening and sharing as always. That's from Gina.
Um, yes, so Abbott got its first directing nomination this year.
Yeah.
Great
It
for
really
it.
should have gotten in for season 2. I was predicting that, I think, and it didn't happen.
For it to break through in season 2.
Yeah.
I would say like the nomination for it now is more surprising because I feel like I was not expecting this. I feel like it
Yeah.
was just not going to get in, you know what I
Same.
mean?
Same.
Um,
I I think what Gina says here though is why we probably, at least part for me, one of the reasons I have Hacks winning writing is because I think the disdain about the writers being impacted as the result of the Bears record breaking performance is a real thing, more so than like a response to season 3. And I think that will put Hacks over the top in writing. I think that's where you'll see it.
it's actually funny and has jokes.
It'll be penalized there because it's not a comedy compared to Hacks.
Yeah. I think with Abbott, I think similar to what we were saying before about Tyler and Janelle, I think the window has probably closed on it to win series
Yeah, I think so too.
too. So sadly, at least I'm on the globe.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I don't think even if it had gone into directing the first 2 seasons, I don't think it would have won
Yeah.
either season. So,
This one
but
is from Warren Joyce, who writes in. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I just read your column, Experts Typing, plug, and I wanted to answer a question Chris posed about series wins for Shogun the Bear and Baby Reindeer possibly being in doubt after the nominations. I think True Detective is best positioned to prevent that with what is still a small chance. I feel pretty confident that Issa Lopez will win an Emmy this year, probably for directing, but maybe series, not if not both. Why do I think that? Honestly, mostly just vibes and just a tiny bit of anti-Baby Reindeer bias. Just a
Is this
tiny
your
bit.
burner?
That's from Warren. No, it's not. But Warren, I like what you're thinking, and I have Issa Lopez winning for directing.
I mean, I would prefer Issa to win.
I
So again, this is me not predicting my
I know.
fave.
Do you think do you think we've seen the will there be a phase two? We talked a lot about the bear and the backlash or whatever to season. Do you think there'll be will there be a phase two backlash to Baby Reindeer that has been swiftly avoided so far?
Uh, I think while all this stuff was happening with Fiona Harvey and Piers Morgan, I think some people thought that would adversely affect Baby Reindeer, but I don't think it did.
No, Matt Bellany tried to make that one happen too.
Yeah, that felt very much like the beef controversy last year.
Yeah, it did. I don't
I
know
don't
if
think
that
it
would. I don't think that would affect it, but I do wonder if
But like,
people
what kind of
the
backlash are you
backlash
thinking?
would be like it's not as good as everyone says.
I don't think anyone would come out with, I mean, I guess like someone online or like a journalist or someone or a critic could write and say that, obviously, but I don't think that is the tenor within the
No,
industry.
I agree.
Because if you read any of like the nomination reaction interviews last week with people, a lot of them were asked like what other shows or people were you happy to see nominated? Baby Reindeer, very popular answer.
People like it. Yes.
So yeah, like Jean Smart shared that she's been emailing with Richard Gadd because she and her producing partner had previously reached out to him about working on a project together. So they're email buddies. So I think there is a lot of love within the industry for the show.
Yeah.
So,
Joyce,
but I would love to see True Detective win. So
this one's from our pal Michael or Mike, Game Master Mike. Hi, Joyce and Chris. It's me again, Game Master and Tornado Wrangler Mike. First of all, thanks for reading my predictions last week, and it was hilarious to see myself wrong at some of them. I guess I
it's
need
fun
to
to be
change.
wrong, isn't it?
Yeah. I guess I need to change my crystal ball. Also, I want to give a shout out to @DarSky, who commented last week on YouTube that I should fuck off and start my own podcast and claim that my quote main character era is profoundly annoying. Thank you very much for your encouraging comment, DarSky. That is so profoundly nice of you to say. Joyce, we're getting some backlash to Mike in the comments on YouTube.
What is happening over there? Tell me.
It's not great.
Wow.
Anyway, I said last week that we will play a game, but I'm going to delay that next week because I want to do a post-Emmy nomination reflection. Instead, overall, it was a solid lineup, even with some of hilarious choices that the TV Academy made, such as Robert Downey Jr. being the only sympathizer nominee, or Tracy Letts getting a guest actor nomination for Winning Time almost a year after its cancellation. Regardless of whether it was deserving or not, I like when they make choices and nominate out-of-nowhere contenders and turn this circus into chaos. I do want to rant about Film Twitter's Emmy nominations reactions. As usual, there were so many takes, and with all due respect, some of them are, for lack of a better word, annoying. One of the biggest headlines is The Curse's massive snub, and a lot were shocked that the show got 0 nominations. Sure, The Curse was a contender, but in our bubble here, we know that it was likely that it would get shut out by the TV Academy, and most of us here were not surprised that it didn't get anything. The show is too polarizing and weird for the voters' taste to nominate it, even if it has recent Oscar winner Emma Stone starring in it. Friendly reminder for some people again, a show with an A-list star doesn't always guarantee Emmy nominations. In hindsight, it's not really surprising that it got snubbed and not really a big deal. I also watched an Emmy nomination reaction video from a certain YouTuber, which I won't name. The drama categories came and they said non-verbatim, geez, I'm wondering who will win these. I really don't know. I wanted to scream and say it's obviously Shōgun, duh. To be fair, they said they had not seen the show. However, you read a lot of Emmy predictions articles, whether it's here on Gold Derby or your sister sites in the trades, you'll know that Shōgun is the heavy favorite, whether you watch the show or not. This is the problem when film Twitter people are starting to weigh in on the Emmys. There will be a lot of misguided takes and narratives that will ruin the discourse. Film Twitter is already convinced that Jonathan Bailey is locked to a limited series supporting actor. Sure, he's the frontrunner at the moment, but he's definitely not locked in. It's just frustrating. I said in a previous letter weeks ago that Emmy discussions are just different from the Oscars, which you two agree with. I might be overreacting here, but what do you guys think of how film Twitter has reacted to the recent Emmy nominations? Feel free to give your honest take or disagree with me this time if you do. Thanks and have a great day. Is this your burner?
No, but I think it might be judgmental TV fans burner. Um, no, I mean, like, I agree generally about all that. I think we've discussed before about how it, increasingly every year feels like because of the break between Oscar seasons, it's a lot of film Twitter people just taking a dip into Emmys without doing the due diligence to learn about how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even think you need to watch these shows. Like you can predict without watching anything, let me tell you.
There's too many
Like,
shows.
yeah, there's too many things. It's just you just need to do research and read up on things and notice patterns and behavior.
I
Um,
the one thing I'll
so
just
yeah, but it's not just like name check like Oscar winners and A-listers.
so it's not just name check, but at the same time, how do we account that Robert Downey Jr. and Lily Gladstone got nominated, other than name check?
Well, I do think RDJ is good on the show.
I,
And I think that category, I think both those supporting categories are very messy. And I think like he did like no regardless of how you feel about his performance on a show or how you feel about him personally, because I know a lot of people do not like him.
really? No,
Like, yeah, breaking news. Um,
he's great.
he did have a lot of attention
Sure.
for pre-premiere for like what he was doing on the show, right? So like
Yeah.
it's not weird to me to think that people would check it out because of him and because of that,
I kind of, I mean,
you
I would
know,
agree. Like we've seen, like they don't name check famous people, like we said with like Harrison Ford is a great example last year, and Emma Stone this year obviously would have been
like
like more
Olivia
of a
Colman,
name.
Great Expectations.
But at the same time, to me, like Robert Downey Jr. and Lily Gladstone were at, is irregardless of their performances, both of which I loved. You know, I love Robert Downey Jr. on that show. That show is great, and like Lily's really good on Under the Bridge, even if she's like my third or fourth favorite performance on that show. But they feel like complete name checks to me. But I think what you're saying is true too, that the chaos of those categories allowed there to be room for
Yeah.
name checks. So there you go.
Yeah. Like, I don't think there's never not any name checks. Like, I
Right.
think name checking does exist, but it's not, most of the votes are not overwhelmingly name checks.
And like with Emma specifically, like a much more competitive category than the supporting categories.
I don't even like, where do you think she finished in the rankings? Like, who do you think was seventh in that I don't think it was her.
I don't know if it was her. I probably Carrie Preston was seventh, and maybe Emma eighth.
I mean, yeah, I just like I
Ella
could
Purnell.
not see like I could see the curse getting into writing. Like that was basically it.
Yeah. To me, I think if it was a weaker category, Emma would have gotten in, I guess, as it turns out. So even though I had it predicted, but I'm not mad that I had it predicted.
Yeah, it's not it's just like I mean I understand like the headlines about snubs and stuff, and obviously saying Emma Stone was snubbed will generate more interest from the general public who only pay attention to this stuff twice a year, you know?
Yeah.
But if you actually follow the race, like Emma Stone was not actually a snub if you
Right.
know the context
Right.
of everything.
This one's from Cameron Joyce. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Love you guys, and I love your podcast. I was wondering if you think that there is a possibility that Mr. and Mrs. Smith could win Best Writing. The show did really well in
This
the
is your burner.
nominations, being pretty much the only show that didn't get a big snub. You can make an argument that Wagner Moura missing on Guest Actor was a snub, but other than that, it succeeded in getting every nomination that it wanted to. Also, with two nominations, Shōgun could cancel each other out. No one really seems to care about The Crown. Fallout is more of a drama of a directing show rather than writing, and I'm not sure Slow Horses is mainstream enough to win. It would be great to see Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is my personal current favorite show of the year, and a show that everyone seems to like, and the show has very few haters, to win an Emmy. It seems like a perfect place for that to happen. Also, I want to say that I love your series of Oscars playback. However, I noticed that in the 1982 episode, Chris confessed that he had never seen the movie Death Trap, an amazing mystery thriller directed by Sidney Lumet and starring Michael Caine and Christopher Reeve. Oh my God, Chris, how have you never seen it? It's amazing. It's tense, thrilling, and entertaining. That was one of the big influences for a small movie you may have heard of called Knives Out. I honestly can't recommend it enough. I will keep an eye on your letterbox, Chris, when you eventually watch it.
When are you gonna watch it?
I'll watch it soon, maybe before I go to Telluride, I guess, just to find old movies to watch. Uh, But this is not my burner account. But Cameron, I agree about Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Full on board with that. I think it could win.
I love Cameron mentioning how Fallout is more of a directorial type of show when ironically it got into writing and not directing.
It's amazing that it
I
didn't get
agree with that
directing.
take, but it's
It's
the
pretty
opposite.
amazing that it didn't get in for directing.
Uh, yeah. So, but I mean,
We
this
talked
is
about
your
this. I do think that it's between Slow Horses and Mr. and Mrs. Smith there for writing.
I, it's again, I think, Mr. and Mrs. Smith could have gotten 2 nominations here, just like Shōgun. It got the 1. So that's also good for it. It's not gonna split any of its votes.
Yep.
And yeah, I I can see it winning, or it could just be kind of like maybe it's kind of like a drama version of Only Murders, where it's like we know they like it and it gets all these nominations, but maybe it's unable to win above the line. It could win stuff below the line,
Yep. This one is from Sean. Joyce and Chris, I have enjoyed your videos and podcasts for years, but this is my first email. My message is in reference to the actual Emmy nominations announcement ceremony. In years past, this announcement always was broadcast during the network morning shows, and now the ceremony is broadcast via streaming on YouTube and possibly other platforms. Why does the announcement ceremony not include the supporting acting categories? It would require only 6 more categories to be announced, which cannot take more than a few minutes. This year, arguably the biggest star nominated, Robert Downey Jr., wasn't even announced live. It is annoying to have them to go to the Emmys website and look at PDFs to try to see these nominations. Why doesn't the Academy want these actors' names to be part of their broadcast, especially since it seems they're limited with time, especially since it seems they're limited on time with the stream broadcast? On another note, after the nominations, I'm trying to catch up on the major nominees I have not seen. I'm currently watching Lessons in Chemistry, which I quite enjoy. Just wondering if Joyce feels that Lewis Pullman bears a striking resemblance to one of her tennis faves, Daniil Medvedev.
Oh, Maddie.
Keep up the great coverage of award season.
I mean, I can sort of see it, but Maddie is just so skinny and scrawny.
Okay.
Like Lewis has a little bit more like baby fat to him. So um but one thing this is how you know who are the contenders and pretenders in terms of like keeping up the Emmys. Yeah, they have never announced the supporting categories ever.
No.
So, but then every year people also get mad about like where are the supporting categories. And I'm not just talking about like casuals or like filmed or
Real
faked, but
people.
just even like real nominees. Like it's
Yeah.
like Kaylee Reese, she said in an interview last week that she didn't know that they only announced the limited categories, so she was happy for Jodie, but then she had to go online or someone called her to talk about her nomination. So I think they should announce supporting categories. I don't know why they don't.
It's weird now that they have unlimited time on YouTube and they don't do it.
Yeah, I do think it's this kind of like outdated practice from the era of being broadcast on like NBC and
Yeah,
the
it
morning shows
is.
and everything. So
This was from Gabriel. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Is this year's animated program lineup an all-timer? Blue Eye Samurai, Scavenger's Reign, and X-Men 97 all making it in truly is a dream. I hope one of them wins, but especially Scavenger's Reign, because maybe that will prompt Netflix to renew it for a second season. The most egregious snub was probably Cosmo Jarvis, but also how did Oliver Platt not make it in? He's the funniest actor on a show that is constantly taking fire for not being a comedy. I love that Only Murders overperformed, and I'm especially happy for Devon Joy Randolph because her storming into the theater and shouting NYPD motherfuckers in season 3 was one of my favorite moments. On the other hand, the Matthew Broderick nomination was pretty lame. I'm not surprised Three Body Problem made it into series. I always thought you guys were wrong about its accessibility. However, I'm surprised the incredible visual effects of Judgment Day were snubbed. And finally, I hope Steve Zalian can win directing for Ripley. Episode 4 of Baby Reindeer doesn't feel like a Figures of Light or The Great Fabricator in terms of directorial flashiness, and I think True Detective or Ripley could prevail in this category. That's it for now, and I look forward to hearing you rack your brains over who's winning supporting actor in a limited series. That's from Gabriel.
we didn't rack our brains that much over that one, did
No,
we?
but
I know I explained a lot. But
another check off on the potential of Baby Reindeer losing directing.
I mean, I think that's possible.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with any of that. Like, I agree with everything you said about that being its most likely loss of the categories it's predicted to win currently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm just not predicting something else to win it right now. So, but, I don't know, what were the questions? Animated?
We'll get to animated next week when we do that.
Yeah. I mean, go X-Men. I don't know.
This one's from Matthew Joyce. These are not on topic. Some of these. Some of these are. Hi, Joyce and Chris. There are 7 finalists for Sundance Host City beginning in 2027. Of the 7, which city gets your pick? I personally love to see it come to Cincinnati because everyone shits on Ohio, even though there is a lot of cool shit here. Also, everyone deserves to experience jungle gyms. Joyce, the cities are
Yeah,
Park
they
City
are. Mhm.
and Salt Lake City. Atlanta, Cincinnati, Boulder, Colorado, Louisville, Kentucky, and Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Yeah, this was announced last week, Friday, I think. Um, I mean, I don't care about this.
Never been to Sundance. All I'll say is it should stay in the Mountain West, probably. So what about Santa Fe? New Mexico seems nice.
Sure. I mean, I don't care where it goes.
Boulder, Colorado, that seems
I don't know.
fine.
I mean, like it would be hilarious for it to go to Cincy.
Yeah.
But I I really I have not thought about this. Can't say I've thought about this.
Uh, this one's from Kyle, who emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Do you think we're looking at another Hacks win in comedy writing? I know people probably think it's going to the Bear, but Fishes isn't memorable because of the writing. I mean, none of the show is memorable because of the writing. That's from Kyle, echoing kind of what we've been saying all episode here. I think Hacks is going to win there. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, how would you feel if they had submitted Forks? I would
Would have
still
been.
pick Hacks.
I think I would still pick Hacks, but I think it'll be more competitive.
Yeah, but
Uh,
yeah.
Judgmental TV fan here checking in, Joyce, with another Bear adjacent email.
Amazing. Let's go.
Hi, guys. It's been a few weeks, period. Popping back in to ask, and now this is all caps. I won't shout it, but you could imagine I am. How are we still talking about whether or not The Bear is a comedy? Get over it. It is not that serious. It
Is that it?
hyperlinks to an
Okay.
article that the Vulture wrote about this for
Right.
SEO
That was I
purposes.
saw that. Yeah. I didn't read it, but I saw the tweets yesterday.
I have Vulture muted for my sanity, and I have this. I didn't read this either. So, is The Bear a comedy, and should I care? No and no would be the answer to those.
Yeah. I mean, like your mileage may vary on whether or not it's a comedy, but should we care? No. I
Very
don't.
simple article.
I
I
mean,
wrote that
like
article. I did 2 words for that article. No and no. There you go.
it it's like regardless of how you feel about what it is, like it's really separate from what is happening with its awards strategy, because it is a strategy. So,
Yep.
and then like there are powers that be that are allowing it to happen.
Yes.
So, but yeah,
Um,
move on.
this from one anonymous fave to another TV journalist, Joyce, who's emailed us, I
Oh,
believe,
back again.
before. Back again. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Apologies in advance for getting all inside baseball. But since the TCA press tour ended last week, I've seen a couple of articles and tweets about the event itself and whether it works in its current state. Joyce, I know you're a TCA member. So am I.
Wow.
What is your opinion of how things stand? Personally, I am frustrated. I don't think things reflect the current state of the industry, meaning that many of us are now freelancers instead of staff. I feel like the leadership is also not very strong. I don't want to put anybody on blast here, but I am interested in hearing the opinions of other members.
I wonder who it is.
How many people are in TCA, Joyce? There's got to be a
It's
couple hundred.
more than 200.
Yeah, so I mean,
So,
who can say? Uh,
um, yeah, there was an article in one of the trades last week, basically just shitting on the relevancy of TCA, but this happens pretty much after like every tour now. I agree that there are some like issues like structurally, and some, other less serious things like allowing the double dipping of limited series and drama at the TCA Awards this year, which is just insane, but that's not important in the grand scheme of things. Um, I think the good thing about the tour, which started um decades ago, like 40 years ago, more than 40 years ago, is that it it allowed smaller outlets and journalists to have access to these shows and producers and stars. And obviously that was like pre social media and internet, so you could bank material for later when like shows premiere and stuff. And that's really changed now. But I think what is good about it is like it democratizes access still, and it allows journalists to hold the people in power, in this case, like executives and showrunners, like accountable and force them to answer sometimes difficult questions. Sometimes a lot of the questions are cringe, don't get me wrong, but sometimes like they are taken to task for some of their shortcomings. And I think that's good, because it's not like in every field that this kind of thing happens where the people in power are grilled by journalists or anybody, about like decisions they're making. And I think a lot of them find that they don't like being grilled, basically, especially in the age of social media. And that's why a lot of the networks have stopped doing executive sessions, except John Landgraf, but he also didn't do one this summer. So I think there's still value in it. I think it was really hurt by COVID, because during COVID it went virtual, so it showed that like we can all do this virtually. I mean, obviously everyone went virtual, so a lot of networks also didn't participate, or they did things on their own time. So I think now going back to in person, I think with like overspending too. Like there was also an article yesterday about how Apple is trying to cut down on spending on their shows. uh like for networks to bring out shows for a day, to now like both tours are in Pasadena, it's like they have to shut down production on the shows, fly everyone out, and then they have to keep everyone fed because they feed us for the day there. So that's like so much money. And whereas, they could just do like virtual press conferences right on their own time, and that doesn't cost anything. So I think it like that is how it's been hurt by COVID. And yeah, now like, some networks don't do them. Like Netflix hasn't been to a TCA in like 8 years, you know.
I,
So
I read that article in THR or whatever about it, and it was like it reminded me so much of the stuff that was written there reminded me of like what they said about the Golden Globes too. And I actually don't think it's
yeah,
a TCA problem. It feels like it's a the publicists are like, and the networks are like, we actually don't need to do this, and so like, why
yeah,
should we do this? And it ends up hurting the TCA in this case, but like, it's
yeah.
not their
And they
fault.
don't like being quizzed, right?
Yeah,
Like
they
they
don't
don't
want to
like
do
being
this.
asked, they
They
don't
have
like
no
being asked
value.
difficult questions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no
that's fair.
value add for the networks to do this,
Yeah.
really, because they could just control their own. Like Netflix does its own media. They don't
Yeah,
even need
like
to do
that's why like
anything.
they launched Tudum, right? They could
Yeah,
control like all the
yeah,
coverage around their
yeah.
shows too. Like
So
again, they haven't been to TSA in 8 years.
yeah, and they don't
So
need to. Uh, two more emails here, Joyce. This one's to you from Danielle. Hi, Joyce. I don't know if you saw, but they go to Roland Garros in season 4 of Emily in Paris. It looks terrible based on the few glimpses in the trailer. Have you seen it? Is it as bad as I fear? That's from Danielle.
yes, I have seen it, and by it I don't mean just the trailer, but the episode.
Wow.
Because we
Okay.
have we have the Emily in Paris
Yeah, no, I
screeners, well,
know
the
that.
first three. So they sent that a couple weeks ago, and I don't watch the show at all. But my friend watched the screeners, so and then texted me mid premiere and was
Okay.
like, "Oh my God, they're going to Roland Garros. I'll let you know if they actually go there." And then a couple minutes later, it's like, "They're there. You have to watch this." So I put it on. Um, and yeah, they're there. There is some CGI. There's a fake tennis match going on. And it's funny because they do some establishing shots, obviously. And the first shot is of the metal statue of Rafael Nadal,
Okay.
which doesn't actually look like him. So I think it will throw people when they see it if they don't know what that is and where they are. But Yeah, Roland Garros is in the season premiere of Emily in Paris.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Joyce, last one here. This one's from Penny. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Without breaking any kind of embargo, what is your honest assessment of Deadpool and Wolverine? I'm assuming you saw it. I'm cautiously optimistic about it based on the social media reactions. We could talk about this, Joyce, because I think the embargo is today for reviews,
Yeah,
Tuesday. I did not like it. I thought it was bad. And
you did it.
yeah,
Um, I thought it's messy but fine, and I like it's like what I expect of a Deadpool movie.
I
So
I would agree with you on there, and I would say this as for who wrote this. Penny, is that who the person's name was? Penny. I'm sorry. Yes, Penny. I scrolled down from the window.
like Penny and Me, my favorite Hanson song.
If you've watched a trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine and thought it looked funny, if you've seen Deadpool and Deadpool 2 and thought those are funny, then I think you'll absolutely enjoy Deadpool and Wolverine.
Um, yeah, I've never seen the second Deadpool.
I will say this. I would have liked to have read the Wikipedia page for Deadpool 2 before seeing Deadpool and Wolverine because while I think I don't know about you, I didn't follow like I mean I followed this like and I've read interviews with like Feige and stuff. I was under the impression that it was going to be not as connected to the previous Deadpool movies and it's like you have to have a pretty intimate knowledge, I would say, of both of those movies and the Fox Marvel movies to really get your money's worth out of this one.
There are, I mean, again, I haven't seen the second Deadpool, but yeah, there are obviously references, but that's expected to the previous two films. Like, I mean, of any trilogy, you would expect that. Um, but yeah, as a lot of the tweets have already said, this is a love letter to the Fox Marvel era.
Did we
So
need
there's a
it
lot of
to
that
be
going on.
yeah, do we need a love letter to the Fox Marvel era?
I mean, it's cute, but it's also it's been so long since they were bought that
So I won't spoil this and there's like things that you could spoil about this movie, but I thought that too watching it last night on Monday night. I was just like so many of these jokes are not did none of it like there's a lot of jokes about Fox buying Disney. That was years ago. Like who cares? I don't know. I just felt like so dated. The material was so dated to me.
I mean, I think that's the only or like the most data stuff because the other jabs were basically about how the MCU is at a low point and the multiverse and all that stuff, which is up to date.
Those felt timely.
And yeah, like I think it's in a I think the movie itself was always going to be in an awkward position because of the acquisition. So it's like they have to find a way to write Deadpool into the MCU when MCU is doing it's launching a new saga with the multiverse saga that's now gone to shit basically. And then they're doing like all this stuff of the multiverse and Loki. Pro tip, you might want to read the Wikipedia page on Loki if you have not seen the show before watching this movie.
Yeah, that was the other. I was talking to somebody after our friend Jordan Hoffman who really hated it.
Who hated it. He despised it.
You can read his review now on Entertainment Weekly. He was reviewing it for Entertainment Weekly, Joyce. I'll give him a plug. But I was like, he was like, he didn't he got less certain references he didn't actually get or was like at like, and I was like, he said something. He was like, it's not really an inclusive movie. I think you really have to know like a lot of minutia. It's not like an like you would laugh if you got it or like
Yeah,
knew what
like
was
I laugh
happening.
because like I even though I haven't seen the second Deadpool, but like I follow the MCU. I've
Yeah.
seen both seasons of Loki. And I follow other Fox Marvel stuff from, the bygone era. And so like yeah, there's a lot of stuff you have to like be aware of. And then I think the movie was also locked into a corner because Logan died in Logan.
Yes. And they said like they were like, oh, we have to address that, and they do that immediately. So like
Yes.
that's to be fair, that's like right away. That's most of the movie. Honestly, is about that Logan died in Logan.
Yes.
That's not a
And
spoiler. That's literally like what a lot of the
yeah.
movie's about.
So I think they were hamstrung in a lot of ways because of that, because like who knew that, Disney was gonna buy Fox and then like the third Deadpool was
Yeah.
gonna end up being like
I
this and worked into the MCU and everything.
based on the responses, and then also based on how my just not intense, but just dislike of it. It reminded me a lot of Beverly Hills Cop 4, which was
I
just
haven't watched
total.
that.
It sucks. And it's total fan service bullshit. And that's a lot of this too. So I was like, if you like fan service that's like very basic and right down the middle, I think you'd really like this. And if you like Beverly Hills Cop, frankly, I think you would really like Deadpool. I don't think that they're not that dissimilar in terms of what they're doing, which is like exhuming, in the case of Deadpool, literally exhuming the bodies of the past to make you nostalgic for something that you liked 10 years
Yeah,
ago, 20, 30 years ago.
there is a lot of nostalgia, a lot of fan service. It's similar to Spider-Man No Way Home in
Yes.
that sense. I think that story was uh had a more solid foundation, but that's also because that had already been entrenched in the MCU. That's whereas like this one they're trying to work everything into the MCU, and
The,
it's just there's a lot going on.
the other thing, and again, not to I will not spoil the cameos, though one of them was reported in the trades last year. You could just read about it right now.
Yeah, one of them was reported,
Announced
and then another one was announced last week too.
in
People
the
gasped.
trailer.
Yeah.
So
And I'm
like
like, this was announced already.
those are like very obvious ones, but there were other ones that I was like, oh, those you didn't know. But I'll just say this: when you brought up Spider-Man, the thing that I think was like cool to me, even though I mean there was like a lot of leaks and rumors about Spider-Man, is it was like when they pulled it off and they brought all the Spider-Man in it, it felt like, holy shit, they really did it, right? Like that was like kind of cool. And I watched that. I love that when I first saw it, and I've watched it like two or three times since, and it's not as good as it was that first time when you're just like, oh my god, they really did it. And Deadpool 3, I was like, I I got it. I already seen them like kind of pull off something like this where they're bringing other things in and other cameos that you're not expecting, and it just felt like a copy of a copy at that point to me. I don't know, not my fave.
It's similar to what they did in Doctor Strange
Yeah,
2.
yeah,
So um
yeah.
yeah, which I wasn't really into that. Like that was very fan servicey, the
I
stuff they
like
did.
so I in terms of recent Marvel output, like I like Doctor Strange a lot. I thought that one was like pretty fun, and then I did like
That's one of their better ones. I mean, I haven't rewatched any of the phase 5.
Marvel's. I thought was bad, but not as bad as I already said.
No,
Thor
Marvel's is
4,
getting a bad rap.
yeah, Marvel's is actually pretty good. Thor 4, I think was pretty bad.
That was bad.
Uh, what one am I missing? Doctor Strange. Oh, Ant-Man is bad.
Black Panther,
Also not great.
Wakanda Forever, which was fine.
Wakanda Forever and Ant-Man are not great, but I didn't think they were terrible.
Ant-Man wasn't great. I think that I mean I think like in terms of like quality, I would put them all on the same level. I think the difference with Deadpool and Wolverine is that it is uh entertaining and very fan servicey. So I think a lot of the fanboys will get more value out of that than what they got out of Ant-Man 3 and Doctor
Yeah,
Strange
this
and the
I think this is going to
Marvel.
be like a huge hit and a lot of really excited Marvel fans online.
Yeah, it's pretty basic.
Yeah.
So
All right, that's it, Joyce. Those are our emails. Email us at slugfest@golder.com right
I
now.
can't believe he closed on Deadpool and Wolverine.
We contain multitudes on this one, Joyce.
I will say about one of the cameos, my friend and I call that back when Disney acquired Fox, which I guess you could say a lot of people probably did the same, but we're
You
like,
can. That's a good radio tease. We can talk about that next
yeah.
week. All right. Well, we'll talk to you then, Joyce. We'll do our create next week. We're gonna do our creative arts Emmys picks.
And you could probably guess what, I mean, they're live, but you could probably guess what
Yeah.
some of them are anyway.
Yeah. So we'll do that then. All right. Talk to you then. Bye.